section, I was like, that's too big of a coincidence. Golgotha and Galgal are too big of a coincidence, too close not to be related. So the Most High had me look that word up, and we found out that they didn't sacrifice, they didn't crucify our king in no city called Golgotha. They sacrificed him in the same place, in the same city where Joshua, the first Yahushua, removed the reproach of Egypt. Our second Joshua, our second Yahushua, our king, he removed the reproach in the same city. In the Hebrew tongue, it will be Galgal. And this is why we're continuing this series, Uprooting Christianity. Because Bereans, do we hate Christians? We love them. We know only by the mercy and grace of God that we're out of that church, that hell house. So now it's our duty, it's our responsibility to try to pull them back in. And learning our culture is helping to expose all these lies and all this butchering they did to our records. And Christianity, you can't deny it. If you're a Christian, and I'm saying this with love, because we publish these classes on a YouTube channel for Christians. If you're following a Christian faith system, you can't deny that your life is based on the letters of the New Testament. You can't deny your whole life is based on those letters. And what we're bringing out with this series is these letters have been in the hands of oppressors, strangers, foreigners who don't know the language. So for you to base your salvation on these letters, you're walking on very, very thin ice. So that's why we do this. That's why we rehearse our culture, because it unlocks the scrolls for us. Hallelujah. So as a review, and all the previous classes are published, so you can go back and become more strong in those topics we went over, and verify things for yourself, because we all are Bereans. We don't repeat anything until we verified it and we understand it ourselves, and we could put it in our own tongue. But just a few highlights of what this series has exposed. We now know that those so-called letters of the New Testament are not letters of the New Testament. We brought out last Saturday that the conditions of the new contract, none of the conditions of the new covenant have been met yet. So if none of the conditions of the new covenant has been met, you can't call those letters of the New Testament. Can we get some heat a little bit? We also brought out that those letters that we now know as the New Testament, at one point in time, the pagans didn't call them the New Testament. They called the entire so-called old, what they knew, they called it the law and the prophets with the apostles. Or they said the law and the prophets with the gospel of the apostles. It was no such thing as the word Old and New Testament. We didn't get that language into the world until like 250 of the Roman era. And who told the world that this is the Old and New Testament? Who made that language up, family? Tertullian. A pagan named Tertullian. And no, for all my Christians who want to make this a black and white thing, Tertullian wasn't white. Tertullian was probably dark as me. History says he was the Latin father of the African church. So I don't know too many people with no melanin who's going to be able to survive in Africa. Tertullian was the father of the Latin church in Africa, Carthage. He's the one who came over and started getting our records. And Tertullian says, oh, this half is the Old Testament. That was just for the Israelites. But this half of the records, these are the New Testament. And the New Testament is a new covenant. And this new covenant covers everybody who believes that that was the Son of God and he is the Messiah of the world. And now if you believe on that and you confess this Messiah, you are a New Testament. You are a new covenant Christian, and you don't need anything of that Mosaic law. You don't need anything Moses taught. All of that has been nailed to the cross. Thank you, Jesus, for the New Testament. And this is what our family and friends don't realize, that there is no such thing ever as a New Testament. No such thing ever. So let's go into our Kadab reading before we get too far gone, because let's just let it flow. If we were able to show with our scrolls, our scriptures, and with academic history that the New Testament, the New Covenant has not started yet, whereabout must a man be saved? How does one get salvation? If the New Testament does not exist and the New Covenant is not in order, how can a man receive salvation? Y'all see where I'm going? There's no New Testament. The New Covenant has not started. So how can I, being a sinner, how can I win salvation? What is my path to salvation? Keep the commandments. That's why we're doing this work. Once we can sit down with our Christian brothers and sisters and let them know how I love you, this is not an attack, but we got proof after proof that these letters are not New Testament letters. The New Covenant has not started. So how can you win salvation now? Because once you take the New Testament away, salvation only comes through the law, but now you add on belief or faith that Hamashiach, Yahushua, he is the Son. But he was already, we don't need the New Testament to validate the Old Covenant, but we need the Old Covenant to validate those New Testament letters. All praise be Abba Yah. We now find Messiah in the volume of the book. He says, I come in the volume of the book. And when he said that, there was no New Testament. So what was he talking about? I come in the volume of the book. He was talking about the law and the prophets. So salvation is coming by the law and the prophets, and Messiah is in the law and the prophets. There's Hebrewisms all through those records. Hallelujah. So let's go into our Kadab reading, and this is going to segue into Uprooting Christianity, the inserted dogma. The inserted dogma. Can you take us to the book of James, chapter 2? James, chapter 2, and we're going to pick it up at verse 10. And those are familiar with the word, you've been evangelizing, you already know this is a verse that the Christians love to take us to. James chapter 2, verse 10. Shema. And James' real name is Jacob or Jacob in English. This is the brother, half brother of Messiah. James chapter 2, verse 10. Read.
For whosoever shall keep the whole law and yet offend in one point, he is guilty of all.
So this is us trying to uproot, tear down Christianity and the Christian dogma. We're not trying to tear down our brothers or sisters. We're tearing down the false dogma that they've been beguiled with. This is the verse they take you to and say, see, if you try to keep one of those laws and break one of those laws, you're guilty of everything. So no one, because they're trying to back you into a corner. Are you keeping the law perfectly? And you're going to be honest, of course I'm not. That's why I'm praying for forgiveness. And it says, see, according to James here, if you break one law, you're guilty of the whole law. And to an unlearned man or woman, it sounds logical. But this is illogical. This is Christian dogma. How do we know this? We expose this Christian dogma by the prophets. But let's keep reading here to get some context. Verse 11.
For he that said, do not commit adultery, said also, do not kill. Now, if thou commit no adultery, yet if thou kill, thou art become a transgressor of the law.
So this is where they stand on, see, if you break any of the laws, you're guilty of all the law. But James just clarified what he was talking about. He just said that you're keeping the law of adultery. You're not committing adultery, but you're killing people unjustly. So what our uncle is telling us here, he's not saying that if you break one of the laws, you're guilty of them all. He's saying don't become a super Hebrew, and because now you haven't eaten pork in 10 years, you just everywhere you go. Is it pork in there? Is it pork in there? Did you read the instructions? Is it pork in there? You're strong on the dietary law, but you can't stop lusting in the Most High's assembly. That's what James is saying. He's not saying that if you break one law, you're guilty of them all. He's just saying don't be a hypocritical, don't be self-righteous because you're strong here. You're going to run me down because I'm struggling to get off pork. But meanwhile, I don't know across town, you got 3 baby mamas and you're still visiting them. That's what James is saying. Now, to get proof of this, let's expose the lies of Christianity. Let's expose the doctrine. Just so you're with me, and I don't want to go too fast, but I know the Rawak is about to release here. I'm already expecting birth right now. I'm already claiming birth. So just so you're with me, the Christian Dogma says, they take you to James 2 and 10 and say, see, James is saying if you break one law, you're guilty of the whole law. Let's expose that to be lies. Let's go to Leviticus. And this is why it's so dangerous not having a foundation in the laws and the prophets. Let's go to Leviticus chapter 20. This is why you have to get a strong foundation. Stop running to the book of John, like Gina says. Stop running to the book of John and get some foundation. Anybody been to the movies lately, post-COVID? Have the prices came down yet, or are they still at $20?
I don't know the difference because if you go to the IMAX and all that, that was always more expensive. Yeah. So I don't really know.
Well, how many of us will go to IMAX and spend $20 and the movie is 40 minutes over? That's what you're doing when you run to the book of John and New Testament. You're trying to get understanding, growling and preaching. You done cut off everything that John and them is basing their lives on. So stop running to the New Testament if you don't have a strong foundation of this old. Leviticus 20, and let's expose this false doctrine. Let's pick it up, this whole chapter, really. For the sake of time, let's go 9 through 10. Try to stay on point here. The Most High going to do what He's going to do. Leviticus 20, verses 9 through 10. Shema? Read.
For every one that curseth his father or his mother shall be surely put to death.
Everyone who curses his mom or dad should be what?
Surely put to death.
Wow. Read on.
He hath cursed his father or his mother, his blood shall be upon him.
So if you curse your parents, if you disrespect your mom or dad, there's no sacrifice for that. That's capital punishment. You are to be stoned to death, right? Now, let's contrast that. Let's go over to Numbers chapter 15. Let's go over to Numbers 15. Let's contrast that. Numbers 15, and we're going to just pick up verse 27. Numbers 15, verse 27. Shema? Read.
And if any soul sin through ignorance, then he shall bring a she-goat of the first year for a sin offering.
If any soul sins through ignorance, I didn't know, Yah. I didn't know about that. So Yah says, if you do something because you didn't know, this is the sacrifice you bring. But we just read earlier, if you curse your parents, He don't want no sacrifice. You are to be killed. So all the laws don't have the equal weight. So this Christian dogma, if you break one law, you're guilty of them all. It's the doctrine of the Jesuits. Our laws have different penalties for them. Adultery or blasphemy your parents, Yah says you are evil seed, kill this child. But if you do something out of ignorance, bring me this for that sacrifice. So when Dr. Seminary tells you that y'all trying to keep the law, if you break one, you're guilty of them all. It doesn't agree with the text. It doesn't agree with the culture. This is the dogma they inserted inside Christianity to get us running from this law. No one can keep all this because you're trying to keep that. If you mess one little thing up, God gonna kill you for all of it. That's lies. He kills you for adultery or blaspheming your parents, but other things, Jesus said, son, I know you're ignorant. Bring me this.
Just like to land back off of what you're saying, he destroyed the Sodom and Gomorrah for that sin. Now, they had been worshiping other gods in plenty of other cities. He didn't necessarily destroy them each time. But for that sin of fornication, he killed an entire city, 2 of them, and told them, don't be looking back. Don't want to go back to that thing.
Don't even desire.
And what happened to Lot's wife?
Turned to a pillar of salt.
So you see that it doesn't have equal weight. But the alphabet communities will tell you can't judge me. It's not. It's already written.
It's written.
You're already judged.
It's written. We know you're suffering with a different spirit than me. So I'm not trying to be better than you. I'm not trying to be self-righteous. But the spirit you're suffering from is more serious than my spirit of lust, my spirit of alcohol. Because for my spirit of alcoholism and lust is sacrifices. I can repent, Father, but for that spirit of man with man, woman with woman, there is no sacrifice. That's another thing of a Christian dogma. I use the pagan term. Jesus died for my sins. Jesus paid for it all. But if you read the first part of this book, the laws and the prophets, there were never sacrifices for certain sins. Like we just read, there's no sacrifice for blaspheming your parents. So Hamashiach couldn't die for that. There's no sacrifice for sleeping with a man. So Hamashiach couldn't die for that. That's that Christian dogma. He paid it all. He knows my heart. No, that's how we got to uproot Christianity. We got to expose all this dogma they inserted into our scrolls by these pagans. That's what we're bringing out here, family. Hallelujah. So we're commanded to do the work of an evangelist. And doing the work of an evangelist is what the Christians have been told they're doing. So all these doctor seminaries tomorrow morning, they really in their heart, they believe they're in that pulpit and they're doing the work of an evangelist. They believe they are imitating the life of Christ, and they believe they're imitating the life of the apostles. My Bereans, did Christ celebrate Christmas?
No.
Did Christ celebrate Easter?
No.
So how are you living like Christ and you're not doing anything he did?
You're celebrating customs and traditions from rival cultures.
Use your mic, because your voice don't carry. So repeat what you said,
I said you're practicing traditions and feasts that rival the traditions and feasts of the scriptures.
Right.
You're hypocritical, and there's a conflicting thought. You can't follow, quote unquote, the God of this Bible and keep and practice paganism. It's a conflict.
Absolutely. Those other nations around us said the Israelites sacrifice like this. We're going to sacrifice like that too, but we're going to do it to our deity. The Israelites have these feasts during this time. We're going to do it too, but we're doing it to our deity. So when you celebrate Christmas and Easter, Christ didn't celebrate Christmas and Easter. Okay, so now you are of the what's that big word? Y'all forgive, y'all know I can't speak too well. Apostolic. I'm an apostolic pastor. This is an apostolic church. And that's supposed to mean I'm following the apostles. So when Christ died, go ahead, let it out. When Christ died and apostles are our leaders now, did they change the Sabbath?
No. And it's they don't know what they're talking about. And when you go like into, if you say within the Christian realm, apostolic can be controversial. You know what I'm saying? Is he either go to, you're following the way, you're quote unquote following the ways of the apostles supposedly. It also can mean, you believe that Jesus is God, or not the Trinity, since that Jesus is the Father. And it's sticky, bro. So we have to redefine what does it mean to be apostolic. It's
absolutely.
It's following the commandments and keeping the faith in the Mashiach.
if we see the apostles after our King's resurrection, he's been going back to his father for years. We still see Paul, Uncle Shawwal, he still says, I gotta make it back to Jerusalem for the feast. He's still teaching in the synagogues, well, that's a Greek word, we would call it the bios. He's still teaching in the houses of worship on Sabbath day. So how are you telling me that you are apostolic pastor, but you're not following the apostles of Mashiach? You're following the apostles of the pagan church fathers, because they took our records and said, oh, this is what Christ meant. No, that Mosaic law, yes, you can have that. We can see that's for you Israelites. We're not trying to take that from y'all. You own that. We're telling you that we're under the law of Christ, and this new law of Christ is for everybody. And you can't find that even in these New Testament letters. You can't find that. So family, do you have any records that the apostles ever wore a cross around their neck? Here's an image of, I forgot this is, I believe is Nimrod. I believe this is an image, and this is from, y'all see, this is from stone. This was carved in stone. This is Nimrod, and that cross around his neck, that's not for our Messiah, because Nimrod is way before Messiah. So that cross around Nimrod's neck, family, that's for his baby boy called Tammuz. So our Christ, our Messiah didn't wear a cross. His apostles didn't wear crosses. How are you apostolic and you're not following nothing of our apostles? This is what we got to bring out with love, but with sincerity and a sense of urgency. These people are at the door they think they're about to wreak havoc. They're going to wreak havoc on the lost, because we read in 2nd Ezra, he says, don't even be scared about they have, what's that word, old-fashioned word he used? He says, they got unimaginable plans against y'all, but don't worry about it, because our Father is going to keep us. But if you're not back into this covenant, the plans they're about to unleash, you're going to fall victim to it. You're going to fall victim to it. So this is us doing the true work of an evangelist, trying to wake our brothers and sisters up with love, telling them, listen, those letters of the New Testament have been altered. There's no new way of life in those letters. There's no faith system called Christianity in those letters at all. Hallelujah.
Hallelujah.
So last week, we exposed this Christian dogma. Love everybody. Jesus loved everybody. He didn't care where you were from. Jesus loves everybody if you confess. And that's what we're supposed to do. And last week, we opened up with King David, on his deathbed. King David gave his son orders to go kill. That's King David. And since what you say King David is known as?
A man after Yah's own heart.
That's on record. Yah says David he's the apple of my eye. The apple of the Father's eye commanded his son, your first 2 orders of business is go kill wicked Israelites. He didn't say, Solomon, bring them into the temple, to the house of the Most High, and pray over them and give them a chance to repent. He said, son, go kill these wicked Israelites. So when people try to say, oh, y'all think it's about a bloodline, it ain't about no bloodline, we know it's not about a bloodline. We see wicked Israelites dying all the time. It's about righteous obedience. So don't bring to me, oh, y'all all carnal, worried about a bloodline. It's in the book. We know it's not about your bloodline, but it starts with the bloodline. Now are you righteous? So don't put these lies upon us. We know it's more about a bloodline. It's about obedience to righteousness. So let's uproot Christianity and expose more false doctrine, more inserted dogma into the text. Let's go to Uncle Shawwal, because y'all know Paul is a champion, right? Paul is their champion, right? Shamar, y'all, take us to, if you would, take us to 2 Timothy. Let's read it out the book. 2 Timothy chapter 4, verse 14. This is Uncle Shawwal, family. And this is the New Testament, right? So-called. This is the so-called New Testament. Let's pick it up at 2 Timothy 4, and let's start at 12, just for context. 2 Timothy 4 and 12. Shema. Read.
And Tychicus have I sent to Ephesus. The cloak that I left at Troas with Carpus, when thou comest, bring with thee, and the books, but especially the parchment.
So Paul has been visiting. He didn't set any churches up. He went to already established bayats of worship, already Israelite houses of worship. Paul did not set not one church up. He went around Rome to where Israelites were already living, and he was witnessing to them like, hey, we don't have to sacrifice no more. Hamashiach has come, and he's our sacrifice right now. So he's giving orders, hey, brother, you go and strengthen the people in Ephesus. You stay with me, and when I come, bring that cloak, because now that the season is about to change, it's about to get winter. Bring that cloak and bring the parchments, bring the writings, right? Read on.
Alexander the coppersmith did me much evil.
Uh-huh.
The Lord reward him according to his works.
Say what?
The Lord reward him according to his works.
What does Shawal just say?
Kill him. Kill him, bring evil upon him.
Not forgive him, Father, for he didn't know. Forgive him, Father, for that Satan has him. Here's your champion of the so-called New Testament saying, I was trying to do the work of an evangelist, and this Alexander the coppersmith, he did me much evil. And Abiyah, you know what I want you to do? Reward him by the evil he did. This is who we are, family. This is Israelite Darak. This is our way. This is our way of life. Darak means our way, our customs. We don't pray for wicked people. If you fall into sin, but you still want to be with us, we're going to pray and consecrate with you. But when you're repeatedly wicked, we got orders to cast you out. So here's your champion of the New Testament telling the Most High to curse this Alexander the coppersmith who did me much evil. This is something you won't hear in the church. They know nothing about this, but you preaching and teaching Paul Sunday to Sunday. And Paul, your champion, is saying, Father, I'm not praying that you forgive him. Father, he's ignorant. You know Satan got him, Father. No, Shawal says, Father, recompense him the evil that he calls me. This is the dogma of Christianity that we have to get rid of, family. So another part of our job as righteous Israelites, we have to rightly divide the word of truth. And we don't decide how we do this. We have a template. I call it's dummy proof. The Most High made this life dumb. We don't have to guess about anything. If I'm trying to make a statement, I need 2 or 3 more witnesses. I just can't make up my own doctrine because, oh, that sounds good. That's going to really get a rise at the crowd. I'm going to add that. No. The Most High says by 2 or 3 witnesses, and then we see the Father, he's holding himself to the same premise. When he says, I call heaven and earth to witness against y'all. So our Father holds himself to 2 or 3 witnesses. That's how we ought to teach. So part of Christianity, they tell you, they'll tell you the verses, and Shamar, y'all, what you used the term, I was listening to last week's class, and Shemaiah says they generalize everything. It says the Father reigns on the just and the unjust. What's another one that I go to? They give you these verses and they generalize them and say it don't matter, as long as you righteous, as long as you repentant, he love you. That's not what's going on here. Let's go to Genesis 12 and 3. And we're going to run through these real quick. Genesis 12 and 3. Because for the sake of time, I won't go there, but you guys know how to use the lexicons, right? And just for example, to make it plain what I'm saying, there's a Hebrew word for pledge versus the Hebrew word for covenant. The Hebrew word for pledge is Strong's H5087, and it's nadar. And the pagans used the word pledge to translate nadar. And then the Hebrew word for covenant is based off Strong's H1262, and it's the Hebrew word bara, and that's when you get barak or barayat. That's when you get covenant. But we're about to show you there's light years difference between a pledge and a covenant. There's a light years difference between a pledge and a covenant. Nahum,
I agree with your statement that he reigns on the just and the unjust.
Mm-hmm.
A precept for that is Deuteronomy 32 and 35.
What you got?
Says, "It is mine to avenge. I will repay in due time. Their foot will slip. Their day of disaster is near, and their doom rushes upon them." So he's going to repay you based on your fruit. If you do good, you reap good seed.
So you said the clock is ticking.
The clock is ticking. Your time is up.
You see how Christianity missed that? They'll take that verse, he reigns on the just and the unjust, as long as you repent and got faith, and y'all know you got to keep it in context. Keep it in context. So let's read, thank you for that, let's read Genesis 12 and 3. Genesis 12 and 3. Shemai, read.
"And I will bless them that bless thee, and curse him that curseth thee. And in thee shall all the families of the earth be blessed."
So this is what it takes to see. We all blessed like Abraham. Through Abraham, we're all blessed. This is not a covenant. This is the Most High giving a pledge to whoever bless you and your seed, I'm going to bless them. That's not a covenant, though. That's a statement. That's his vow. How many? Let me just, let's go to Matthew 5 and 45.
Word is born.
We gotta expose this false doctrine, this inserted dogma into our way of life. Having a pledge from Yah is not the same as having a covenant from Yah. Matthew 5, verse 45. Shema.
Side note to that, I was looking at a teaching about who the Gentiles were, and I didn't write anything down, but just a little nugget of a note. He was bringing out that blessing all of the families in the earth was because we were scattered in all of the lands of the earth. If that makes sense. I don't know how to.
It makes perfect sense when you put the text back in Hebrew. He was saying, by your seed, the world's going to be blessed. Not because of your faith. If they got faith like you, they're going to be blessed like you. No, your seed is going to be scattered. And when your seed is scattered, I'm still going to have favor upon your seed. And now the world has lights by Abraham's seed. The world has internet by Abraham's seed. The world has indoor plumbing by Abraham's seed. That's what the Father was saying. The world's going to be enriched by your seed, but your seed is going to be at the bottom. That's how you're being blessed. And Christianity missed that. It's faith like Abraham gets you blessed like Abraham. No, because Abraham's blessing is a physical land. Abraham, he said, Abraham, I'm going to give to your seed from the river of the Euphrates to all the way to the Garden of Eden. So being blessed like Abraham or having faith like Abraham, that's not your land. From Euphrates or to Goshen to the Garden of Eden, that's all for Abraham's seed. All Abraham's sons supposed to be rolling that. And then Isaac is going to get the good of that. So being blessed in Abraham, no. Your nations are blessed because your little dirt bag country is still standing because my seed is there. We got a lot to go through. I'm trying to keep myself contained. Matthew 5:45. Matthew 5:45. Shema. Read.
"Blessed are the meek, for they shall inherit the earth." Did I read the right one? Oh no, I'm sorry. I read 5 and 5, but hey, still a good one.
But that's a good example of another pledge. That's not a covenant. So that's another example. Blessed are the meek, so they should inherit the earth. That's a pledge. I'm gonna show you the difference. Read on Matthew 5:45.
45, that ye may be the children of your Father, which is in the Shemayim, for he maketh his sun to rise on the evil and on the good, and sendeth rain on the just and the unjust.
Again, this is another example of a pledge, a vow, a declaration. The Most High is making declarations here. These are not covenants. Let's go over to Psalm 78. Now we're going to show you a covenant. Matthew 78 and verse 5.
Psalm 78.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, we all.
So, y'all know, I'm trying to contain myself. I want to be clear and concise. The Christians, they're not used to this, all this reading. So I'm trying to keep myself contained. But the Most High will be done. Psalm 78 and verse 5. Shema. Read.
For he established a testimony in Jacob and appointed a law in Israel, which he commanded our fathers that they should make them known to their children.
He established a testimony. What do we say testimony was another synonym for? Instructions. And what are the instructions based on? The law. This is a covenant. This is an example of a covenant. He established a testimony in Jacob that they may teach it to their children. This is the covenant. So Jacob has a covenant. This is not a pledge, because a pledge, you don't have to do nothing. I pledge to come paint your house on next week. I'm not requiring you to do nothing. I just gave you a pledge, my vow. But a covenant means two parties into an agreement. That's what barak means in Hebrew. We take this animal and we cut this animal in pieces, and this bloody animal, we line the pieces up, and you and I, we walk in front of witnesses, we walk through these pieces, and we're making an agreement. If either one of us don't hold up our end of the bargain, the other party has the right, you don't have to, but you have the right to do to me what we did to these animals. That's two parties have to do something. But a pledge, you don't have to do anything. So the Father reigning on the just and unjust, he's not making a covenant with you wicked people. He's giving, like Nehemiah says, I'm giving you a space of time. I'm going to deal with you, but right now, go ahead and enjoy my rain. Go ahead and enjoy my sunshine. But the day of the wicked is being cut off. So Christianity, read these scriptures, and like Shemaiah says, they generalize all this thing. If you're faithful, he's going to bless you. That's not what he's saying, family. Let's get the last one. Let's get Psalms 103. Let's get Psalms 103. We're going to expose all this false doctrine, all this inserted dogma into our way of life. The Israelite, the rock, is not based on generalizations. The Israelite, the rock, way of life, our customs, is not based on generalizations. It's not based on what you feel like doing. It's based on what he tells you to do. Psalms 103, verse 7. Shema. Read.
He made known his ways to Moses, his acts unto the children of Israel.
He made known his ways to Moses and his acts to the children of Israel. That means I've made known to you my way, and you agreed to this. That's a covenant. That's a covenant. The children of Israel, through the seed of Abraham, Isaac, and now the covenant is resealed by the blood of Hamashiach. We have a covenant. But the other nations, the other people, they don't have a covenant. He made declarations. He made vows to them. So when he says, I will bless those who bless you, yes, my daughter's on the run. My daughter's on her last grapefruit. If you go take my daughter some vegetables, I'll keep your car on the road a little longer. I'll keep your son out of prison. That's his vow to the other nation. But he don't have a covenant with you because he didn't require you to do anything. That's what we're exposing from Christianity. This doctrine, as long as you got faith, you're a seed of Abraham. As long as you got faith, you're a spiritual Israelite. No, it's false doctrine. He only has an agreement with one nation, and that nation is Israel. But like we keep saying, he already made provisions for strangers. You want to come join yourself to Israel? Come, let me teach you how to please the Most High. But that don't make you equal to me, because we got scripture after scriptures. Don't let your brother serve a stranger. Well, why can't my brother serve a stranger if the strangers are equal to us? Because it's out of order. Yes, I'll bless the stranger in your land if y'all give the stranger some. You tell the stranger where to set up that, and I'll bless this stranger if they're following the commandments. But if one of your brothers fall on hard times and is serving that stranger in Zion, no, that's out of order. Go get your brother. So yes, the strangers can live with us, but you're not equal to us. You have never entered into a sonship. You have never been adopted. That's how we got to expose Christianity, family.
Hallelujah.
So, any questions or comments before you transition on? Anybody has something? So, this is a fancy little word, textual criticism. And we're gonna really get deep right now in textual criticism. And what the Most High is about to expose, it's enough for every whorehouse, every church to be shut down. Every whorehouse should be shut down tomorrow. Let's dig into textual criticism. Let's go to 1 Timothy chapter 3. Let's go to 1 Timothy chapter 3. And we're going to do some textual criticism. And we're trying to show the Christians this is why you can't base your life on side these letters of the New Testament. You can't base your life, you can't base your salvation on these letters, because these letters are not what you think they are. These letters have been altered. We brought out last week, they don't even know where the originals are. All you've been reading is copies of copies of copies. And sometimes they got to go get a German translations to complete a Greek translation. That's that doggy, where's your bone? But if you don't come back to the original Hebrew, you just got a bunch of garble. So you can't base your life on these letters. And we're going to show you a great example here of textual criticism. 1 Timothy chapter 3. Shimon, read.
This is a true saying. If a man desire the office of a bishop, he desireth a good work. A bishop then must be blameless, the husband of one wife, vigilant, sober, of good behavior, given to hospitality, and apt to teach.
That sounds noble, right? That sounds like some noble responsibility, some characteristics. If you want to be a bishop, have one wife, rule your house. This sounds noble, right?
First era is no bishops in Israel or Yashar. So
we got a Berean in the house. We got a Berean in the house. For those of you who don't understand what he's saying, bishop don't exist in our way of life. It's Catholicism. Read on.
Not given to wine, no striker, not greedy of filthy lucre, but patient, not a brawler, not covetous, one that ruleth well in his own house, having his children in subjection with all gravity. For if a man know not how to rule his own house, how shall he take care of the church of the Most High?
That sounds noble. Like, yeah, these are good rules to live by. Go ahead, Paul, you teaching something. Read on.
Not a novice, lest being lifted up with pride, he fall into condemnation of the devil. Moreover, he must have a good report of them which are without, lest he fall into reproach and the snare of the devil.
You got to have a good reputation in the community. Pastor went to Harvard. Pastor been teaching this word for 40 years. Pastor been married to the same wife for 30 years. These are all how they measure a man of God. It sounds good, right? Let's read verse 8.
Likewise must the deacons be grave, not double-tongued, not given to much wine, not greedy of filthy lucre.
Now the deacons got responsibilities, and the deacons is supposed to be what we would call square a square guy. Deacon's supposed to be, don't drink too much, don't be doing things for profit. This sounds like noble people, right? And Paul is giving out some great advice how to set your church government up. This is right off Wikipedia. This is not great scholarship. Wikipedia is not the most trustworthy site. Anyone can edit these Wikipedia links, but like I tell you guys all the time, the information I share is just to springboard your research. So this is Wikipedia, and this is about the authorship of the Pauline epistles. The authorship of the Pauline epistles. Can you read that for us?
The authorship of 1 Timothy was traditionally attributed to Apostle Paul. He is named as the author of the letter in the text, chapter 1, verse 1. 19th and 20th century scholarship questioned the authenticity of the letter.
They do what?
They question the authenticity of this letter.
So you're basing your salvation, you're basing your eternal resting home on these letters, and Apostle Paul is your champion. But when you learn the Hebrew culture, when you learn the Israelite, the rock, when you learn the ways of the Father that his son established, things don't add up what Paul is saying according to the text that we have. Read on.
With many scholars suggesting that 1 Timothy, along with 2 Timothy and Titus, are not the work of Paul, but rather are unattributable Christian writing sometime in the late 1st to mid 2nd centuries.
They did textual criticism, and these are men doctors. These are good doctors who done studied the Greek, and they got the fragments somewhere in museums, and they can sit down and take their time. They don't got to work 40 plus 50 hours a week like you and I. They can take flights over here and read our records. Don't that make you mad?
Yes.
Don't that make you jealous? You up here taking flights to my land, now you're going to regurgitate what my elders wrote. So these good doctors who are learned in y'all little schools, they're saying, hey, we checked all Paul's epistles, and for this word, he always used this Greek word. And now these later writings of Paul, he changes the word. Why would he do that? So they're using textual criticism and saying, listen, we got to inspect these letters further. Something ain't adding up. But this is what you want to base your salvation on, letters of the New Testament that's been altered. Read on.
As evidence for this perspective, they put forward that the pastoral epistles contain 306 words, 3 6s, that Paul does not use in his unquestioned letters, that their style of writing is different from that of his unquestioned letters.
The ones that's been verified, yeah, Shawwal definitely wrote these. These other ones, like, there's 306 words that Paul never used. Who's writing these rest of these letters? And tomorrow morning, these doctor seminaries are gonna be around here hooping and hollering. I just went to a graduation, whole crowd going off because a young sister down there in line about to get her certificate, start shouting. I'm looking around, whole Coliseum. Down to myself, I'm looking at Gina looking at me, I'm like, well, I thought only the Holy Ghost can make you do that. Holy Ghost is in here? Whole crowd goes, then when she get up in front of everybody again, she does it again. Whole crowd, she's shouting, her cap fall off. Whole crowd, hallelujah. I'm like, I thought you needed the Holy Spirit to do that, sis. I thought the Spirit do that to you. So you can turn it off and on when you want.
Some spirit.
And some spirit got you dancing.
And you saw the Greeks do their little strolls.
Yeah.
So the Holy Spirit is in the same room with
Idolatry. You got cute dogs up here barking. You got deltas up there doing their ski. What is it?
So AKA.
The AKAs. I'm sorry. It's all guarded. That's no better than us. It's guarded. So, you got our children up here making these sounds, but you got the spirit in here that's got you shouting to get your degree. But you got a square cap on that's from Freemasonry, but this Holy Spirit got you dancing that you made it.
I don't know why, like,
Lost people.
I'm like, say trash, man.
You're trying to survive captivity. I get it. Do what you gotta do to survive captivity. I tell people, I bring this to your front doorstep. I respect the man who sells drugs than the man who live off a woman. Where I'm from, you a dirtbag. You around here flossing, but your girl bought your rims. Get a weed package at least, scaredy cat. So do what you gotta do to survive this captivity. If you want a degree, if you want to hire, do what you gotta do, but understand that's not our way of life. So this Holy Ghost got you shower in this Coliseum, where we're sitting in a ring.
Watching your ancestors get killed.
And this Holy Ghost got you shouting.
On the same stage.
I'm looking around, hallelujah, and praise him, says, let him know. Like, let him know.
And then the next person do they stroll.
Then you got one of the black Greeks coming doing their little Greek scroll. Holy Ghost is in here?
On the same stage.
Same stage.
That shows that.
What light had, how can light dwell in darkness?
Mm-hmm. That's how you know all of it is just paid. That's how lost everyone is. Like,
right.
I'm glad this came up because this is what I was thinking. I don't know if I saw it this morning or last night, but they had, maybe probably this morning, they had the tornado, right? In Kentucky, and it killed maybe like 70. I don't know. I didn't really pay a close attention. But the thing that got me was, one of the news things, I don't know if it was a pastor or something or whoever, but he was like, we're going through this tragedy just 14 days away from Christmas and praying to God. I'm like, y'all just don't, maybe have y'all ever took something as a sign like this? You're saying this Christmas season and praying to God, quote unquote, at the same time, and then you seeing that these tragedies is happening, and you saying, well, I don't understand because this is the Christmas season that this tragedy, Lord, please bless us, et cetera, Lord. And it's just like, man, I said, man, they're just so confused.
We got a lot of work. My heart just was heavy. I'm like, I know the sister mean no harm. That's what we always raised in that. We was all raised in that doctrine. And this sister is just happy. And I know she really wants to give thanks to our Abba. That's what she want to do.
I said, man, all
she's
people
lost.
They just don't know. They're literally just lost.
Just lost. Our Father don't need you shouting and making all a spectacle yourself. Just simple thank you, Abba. I couldn't do this without you, Abba. Thank you for your mercy. Thank you for paying my tuition. Thank you for the memory to retain this information. Y'all don't need no. He just give me a little bit. He don't need no big spectacle. Just give me a little bit. But all these adults, grandparents, just in this Coliseum, hallelujah, thank you, Jesus. You praise him. Praise who? Praise who? Our Messiah says, seek ye first the kingdom of heaven, and all things should be added to you. All right, let's move on. Where do we stop at? So the writings of Paul, does somebody have something?
Sure.
Go ahead.
Do y'all hear me?
Yeah, you kind of faint. Go ahead.
Just to land that right. Yeah. What I was gonna say was a strong delusion is a whole lot different than confusion. You can explain something to a confused person and they understand it. But a strong delusion, regardless of what you say and how you break it down, they're not gonna get it. And that's the state. And let me back on what Shamaria was saying. That's the language back of what he was saying. What Shamaria was just saying.
That's a powerful. That's powerful. Go ahead, Abishai.
Yeah, all of what's being said is so true. And even what Gerald just said, that's a nice one. As a kid, for some reason, I always had a certain keen understanding because I just pay attention. And I've always paid attention to my own people, right? As we all do. We know Negroes, but the scattered Negro is something else. Because how do you, again, what does light have to do with darkness, right? Or why are you in a Coliseum whooping and hollering and shouting as if you're in church? Those two things are oxymorons. How do they even belong together? Yeah, be happy that you made it, you did this, that, and the other. But the scattered Negro, I've always looked at them as you just living off Negro spirituals. You still a slave. That's that coming out of slave mentality or slave conditions that you want to get up. You don't want to be a slave no more. So you're developing a certain type of spirit that is actually not of God, but you're just deriving some kind of spirit and you're holding on to that because it's greater than you. No, that's gonna get you killed. So you got to get out of her, in order to really live and be a part of the real spirit. We know the struggles of our people, and it's the evils of this world that's taking advantage of the fact that we are naturally a spiritual people, but we have become part of the wrong spirit. We are part of everything but the Most High. So when you saw that, that's probably what you saw. It's just you a spiritual woman, but part of the wrong spirit.
It just, lost people. And again, if this was 1985, I would say, we got time. But this is not 1985.
I wanted to say too, you mentioned that they got their square. Mm-hmm. And what are they receiving?
A degree.
A degree.
On Masonic. I got pictures to show you. I'm gonna post to the Telegram. I guess the dean who's facilitating, he's coming to the podium, has a gold, like I guess it's probably plated gold, but has a gold chain on with a big medallion on it. I couldn't zoom up on his medallion because the podium was in the way, but you're gonna be able to see his gold chain. And then behind the screen for A&T logo, they got some Latin. And so I took a picture of that and I Googled it real quick, and it's borrowed from MIT and it's Latin. I'm looking around all these great Hebrew people who don't know their Hebrews, and these Latins and these Greeks had to come to our fathers, and because breaking the law, we're going to them, going into debt. Now you're going into debt. Now you got to go on interviews and beg them for a job to pay for the debt that you got trying to get their education.
And who created that system? The Jesuits.
The Jesuits. So
it's making sense now.
Anyway, we got off on a tangent, family. Let's get back to this. We got a lot more. I'm trying to get through this today. Most scholars now affirm this view. So something's wrong with using textual criticism. Some of these Pauline epistles are not really written by Apostle Paul. Read on.
That they reflect.
Where we stop at? As evidence, I think as evidence.
No, that they reflect.
That they reflect, okay.
That they reflect the conditions of a church organization not current in Paul's day.
Read that again out.
Their style of writing is different from that of his unquestioned letters, that they reflect the conditions of a church organization not current in Paul's day.
That's what Shemaiah said when he started reading. Paul, so-called Apostle Paul in 1 Timothy 3 is teaching them how to establish their church government. If you want to be a bishop, have one wife, be grave, be serious man. And if you want to be a deacon, this type of church government is too modern for Apostle Paul. Apostle Paul wasn't around for this type of government. You got something out?
If you pay attention to what they're saying, he's telling you how to be a bishop, how to be a deacon. We know that is Roman Catholicism. And so with this information, it is adding on to your witnesses to let you know whatever is being established after that is not your culture. You're being indoctrinated. So if you want to establish and be that bishop and that pope, here's how you do it.
And it's funny you say that because Y'all Google real quick. Google this phrase, the Catholic epistles. Google the Catholic epistles. What Chef just said, he's teaching you how to be a good Catholic leader. And then it's funny, again, y'all hijack our records, and now I'm gonna tell you how the apostles was running things.
And that system is how they set up the churches that our people are in today.
Come. Now you think because you're a Protestant, I'm non-denominational, I'm not Catholic. But next week you're celebrating Christmas, a mass service for Christ, but you're not Catholic. Yeah, this is you are Catholic. You are. This is who you. Paul is talking about you. Somebody hijacked Paul's letters, and I went to my brother's ritual. I was there. I was happy to be supporting my brother. I was happy to be to a church event. I'm coming out of the world. Yeah, I'm going to support my brother. And now, hindsight, seeing all those people around him with their toga gowns on, and then read this scripture, and then you put this laurel over you. This is a ritual.
It is. And then he got to dip to the crowd. Then he got to put the joint on you.
Did you find that?
Yeah.
So what are the Catholic epistles?
The Catholic epistles, also known as, also called the general epistles, are 7 epistles of the New Testament listed in order in the appearance of the New Testament of the Catholic. The Catholic epistles are the Epistle of James. I'm just going to read down. The first epistle of Peter, second epistle of Peter, first epistle of John, second epistle of John, third epistle of John, and the epistle of Jude.
So they even hijacked and named those 4 letters. These are Catholic epistles. This was written to the Catholic Church. And now so-called Paul is telling Timothy how to set up his church with a bishopric and a deacon.
They ain't read James, Peter, and John, because they straight up tell you need to keep the commandments. I don't know what.
See, these curses had us sleep, and now these men, wise men that you looking up to, oh wow, look at his gown, look at his gold chain, got you lost. But we got a lot to go. So the point being made, Paul telling you how to be a good bishop and telling you how to be a good deacon, something's off. Paul, you wasn't alive when this type of government got set up.
So like, even like when you slide a joint, right? There's a little chart on the Wikipedia. It tells you these letters were addressing, and it says the first one for the Epistle of James to the 12 tribes of the diaspora. So that's not Catholic. And then the first Epistle of John to God's elect exiles in Pontus, Galatia, Cappadocia, Asia, Britannia, and then God's elect who are God's elect, Yasha'Allah, Israel, that were exiled. And then the next one to all Christians who were quote unquote following Christ, they were Israelites.
These are Nazarites he's writing to.
You know.
But see, like Shamaria says, when you generalize, we all God's elect if you believe in Christ. You don't believe in Jesus? Yeah, I believe in Jesus. Well, you're part of the elect. Don't you want to be a part of the elect? Yeah, I want to be a part of the elect. Well, you are, because you believe in Jesus.
Because see, if you just, we're gonna keep go ahead to the next point. But if you start in the new, then you ain't gonna know that all the northern kingdom and them were scattered.
To the 4 winds.
Right. So you would just
miss all that.
Yeah, you miss.
Like Gina said, when you start in the book of John, you don't understand that he's writing to scattered Nazarites. You think he's writing to anybody who believes in Christ. So here's a record we brought out many times before. You can download this, a free PDF. This is Eusebius Church History, Book 4, Chapter 1. Can you read that up?
We still have lists of bishops as old as the end of the 2nd century.
2nd century? What would be the 2nd century?
Like 200 or 100, 200 or 300?
100.
100.
When you get to 101, that's 2nd century. So 2nd century, they have a list of bishops. But according to their records, our eldest apostle, Yachanan, John, he died about 95 AD. Paul and the rest of them were martyred. John, y'all allowed John after he got unexiled and they let him come off Patmos. Y'all let him die of old age in Ephesus. But Paul and all them, by 100, by the 2nd century, they're dead. They're dead. So how do Paul know about a bishopric and a deacon? This church, this organization didn't exist in Paul's day. Read on.
The most ancient is that of the Roman bishops given by Irenaeus, but this has no date. The list is probably the official catalog as it had been handed down to the time of Eleutherius, but it is not authentic as there is no monarchical episcopate in Rome at the time of Clement.
So even their list is not authentic because they're admitting there was no official monarchy of bishops in Rome at this time of Clement. That's how you just run down a liar. So y'all made us some lists, but this is the 2nd century, and the list is not even authentic. But Paul would know nothing about this list. Paul is long dead. Read on.
Nor even in the time of Hermas. For other churches, the oldest lists date from the end of the 3rd century.
So now for the other churches, their list goes back to the 3rd century. Paul is long, all our elders, the true apostles, are long gone. None of our apostles, even Yachanan knows nothing about a bishop and a deacon. They know nothing about that. Read on.
According to one interpretation of a passage from Hegesippus, quoted in chapter 22, he drew up a list of Roman bishops down to the time of Anicetus. And Bishop Lightfoot thinks he has discovered this lost catalog in Ephanius. If Lightfoot is right, we have recovered the oldest papal catalog.
Nothing to do with us.
But it is very doubtful whether Hegesippus, it doesn't even matter, posed such a catalog. And even if he did, it is uncertain whether the list which Ephanius gives is identical with it. Skipping down to the list of Roman bishops, which Eusebius gives, is the same as Irenaeus, but it has dates while Irenaeus has none.
Irenaeus, Eusebius, and Tertullian are their church fathers. This has nothing to do with us. And Paul, writing to Timothy, would never use the word bishop or deacon in any of his letters, because by the time the Romans set their church up, Paul and all our righteous elders are long dead. None of them know nothing about a deacon or a bishop. So who edited this letter? This is what you're basing your salvation on. And this is what they don't understand. Y'all trying to they're having councils on how to come against us. We're trying to save your life, and you're coming up with a way to refute this.
Because the word is infallible. It's
they not thinking real world, like, look, these people are in charge. They took what was written, and if you in charge, you can add something to it. You in control. Like, it can happen, and a lot of people just can't understand that.
So this church government of bishops and deacons and what they call the sisters, nuns and all that, that's Catholic. Paul would know nothing about this. So who really wrote this in 1 Timothy chapter 3? As another witness, this is Eusebius again, same record. This is chapter 4. SELAH, this is book 4, chapter 5. Can you read that out? But the fact is
that the episcopate is of Greek.
Is what?
It is Greek.
Deacon, bishop, archbishop, diocese, how you say it, diocese, the old cheese or whatever.
Alpha, Kappa, Alpha.
Oh, this is Greek. This is Greek. But the fact is the episcopate is of Greek. Read on.
Not of Jewish origin.
Israelite origin,
And in the strictly Jewish Christian churches of Palestine, no such person as a bishop can have ever existed.
When our Hamashiach, when our Messiah ascended back to heaven, the apostles did set up churches or assemblies. We could no longer go to the temple because the Pharisees had that on lock. They were shunning us. So we had elders who took over, and we were gathering in homes. We were gathering by the river. So we did have elders who established order after Hamashiach went back to heaven. Let's read on how they did it.
Only after the church came under the influence of the Gentile church and lost its prevailingly Jewish character,
Israelite character,
was it possible for a bishop in the general sense of the term to exist there.
So Eusebius is being diplomatic here. Let me bring it to your front door. Only after they hijacked the Nazarites and overtook our records could this type of government, church government, come into existence. Only after they pushed us out, the Nazarites, the ones who believe in Messiah, now they push us out, and now they set this new government up for churches. Read on.
The Israelites and the Israelite Sanhedrin, though while James and Simeon were alive, they were naturally leaders according to the common.
Hold on. I think you skipped down. The Jewish
Christian. The Jewish or the Israelite Christians assume for their church government the form of the Jewish Sanhedrin. Though while James and Simeon were alive, they were naturally leaders according to the common Oriental custom, which exalted the relatives of the founder of a religion.
So while the Nazarites still live, these are Jews, these are Israelites who accept Messiah. Not everything of the Jews is wicked, but the Jewish rabbis became the face of everything coming out of Palestine. But these are our Nazarite forefathers. James is the record we open up with. James is the brother of Hamashiach. Simeon, I believe, is his brother or cousin. I think Simeon may be a cousin. But it's saying that they followed the tradition set up in Torah. When the Levites died, their sons take over. So that's what the Nazarites did. James is going to lead us, and James is going to lead us till he died. When James died, his son comes up and lead us. This is the form of government our Nazarite leaders set up. So Paul, what are you talking about a bishop and a deacon? Paul, somebody's editing your letters, and this is what Christianity is basing their salvation.
And you just, maybe for people, you might want to explain Oriental, because all we think is Asian, Chinese, or those pack of blue noodles.
So yes, Oriental is an old-fashioned word for East. So it's saying the common Eastern custom, and that's referring to you and I. Our Nazarite forefathers, they followed the order of government that was set up by Uncle Masha with the 70 elders. In the Greek tongue, it became known as the Sanhedrin. We don't have a Sanhedrin. We just have every community should have elders. This community should have elders who you just don't come willy-nilly in. No, we got order. So they didn't have a Sanhedrin. They had a assembly of elders running the Nazarites. Read on. The Jewish congregation, character of Jerusalem.
The Jewish character of Jerusalem congregation was very marked until the destruction of the city under Hadrian.
So Hadrian is a Roman emperor, and after this, they gassed this Israelite up and says, he's the Messiah we've been waiting for. That first one was a fraud. This is the one who's going to free us from Rome. This is the Messiah. This is the son of the star. This is Bar Kaba. Bar is Latin or Aramaic for son. Northern Israel spoke Aramaic. So Bar, son, Kaba, he's the son of the star. He's the Messiah. He rose up, got the people riled up, and revolted against Rome. Hadrian says, y'all got to get out of here. This is when you got to know our history. So up until Hadrian put us out, 125, 127 AD, our Nazarites, they didn't know nothing about no bishop, no deacon. We had elders, the same government that Uncle Masha set up. Let's finish this up.
Note that all but 2 of the 15 bishops have Jewish names.
Hebrew names.
After which all circumcised Jews, Christians, as well as unbelievers,
were excluded, and a heathen Christian congregation took its place.
A heathen congregation took its place. The pagan Romans who are steeped in Greek culture, they pushed our fathers out and they took over our records and they took over our bayats and turned our bayats into synagogues and cathedrals. This is the hijack. This is the history you don't get in church. And this is why you're following bishops and elder and bishop so-and-so. And he's the archbishop. Paul, this government is too modern for you, Paul. Paul, you were long dead. How do you know about bishops? How do you know about deacons? This is proof that the New Testament has been altered, and this is what you're basing your life on, family. This is why we're trying to help the Christians, let them see you can't base your life on these letters. So now it's really about to get deep. Y'all need some water, some snacks or something? Y'all all right? So I'm challenging all of you to take this information and you verify this for yourself. Be a Berean, trust no one's information. So this is the genealogy of our Messiah. Forgive me, family, I had to put that up there. I found the best image I could find. But this is the lineage of our Messiah, our King. And they tell you that it goes back to our patriarch, our Papa Judah or Yahweh, and he, committed that trespass, and he slept with his daughter-in-law got drunk, and she disguised herself. So Judah slept with his son's wife out of accident, and he impregnated Tamar, and that's who we come from. Tamar had twins, and that's the line goes from Judah and Tamar having those twins, Perez. You see it runs all the way down, and then we get to someone called Salmon and Rahab. And Rahab was who, family? Anybody know who Rahab is? According to Christian Dogma,
talking about the Rahab the harlot? Is that what you're talking about?
Con. According to Christian Dogma, this is Rahab the harlot who hid the spies when we were coming in Canaan. So Christian Dogma says Salma married Rahab, and this is how our Messiah came through this line of Judah, all from Judah to these men. And one of his grandmothers is a whore, or according to the theologians, she either was a whore or she ran a brothel. But either way, who are you to be so holy when your Messiah has a whore for a grandmother, right? This is the Christian dogma they want us to believe. The whore with the heart of gold. Let's go to Matthew 1 and 5 if we can. I'm trying not to rush this because this is heavy and I don't want to go too fast. If we got to break this down, we will. But this is heavy Christian dogma that's been rammed down our throats for years. For years. Our king, our Messiah, has a whore for a grandmother. But she's a whore with a heart of gold. She's a whore of faith. That's what they want us to believe. Matthew 1 verse 5. Shema. Read.
And Salmon begat Boaz of Rahab.
Mm-hmm.
And Boaz begot Obed of Ruth. And Obed begot Jesse.
So y'all see the line there. Salma had Boaz, and for some reason they mentioned Boaz's mother, and it's Rahab, and Christian Dogma says, yeah, this is Rahab, or this is Rahab, the whore of Canaan, who hid the spies. So this is what I was alluding to when I opened up with how Shamaria said they generalized everything, and they mentioned this Rahab again in the book of Hebrews, the Hebrews chapter of faith, Hebrews 10 or 11, is it? And it's like, by faith, Rahab hid the spies.
Mm-hmm.
And this is when you got to reclaim your culture. By faith, Rahab hid the spies. So Rahab, the harlot, the whore with the heart of gold, she had faith and she hid the spies, and she had something to do with us conquering Jericho.
interject something?
Come.
What do you have faith in?
You see what? I was trying to bring this out in a clear-cut way. You and I, we've been talking about the glaze now for a couple months, all of us, right? And we were saying that more restrictions are coming back. And even us now, we're telling people to, prepare yourself because restrictions are coming. So by us telling people that more jabs are coming and restrictions are coming, do we have faith in this government?
Nope.
No. That's not us having faith in this government. That's us being intelligent, discerning the signs of the times.
Right.
So Rahab didn't have faith because to have faith in something or someone, that something or someone had to tell you something. What did the Most High tell her that he was going to destroy Jericho? He didn't. Well, we had no record of that, right? Because we got to base our lives on what we can read. Y'all agree with it? So I don't have no text that says, yes, and your God, your Elohim came to me last night, to Joshua, and he told me that y'all was going to take the land, and he told me I was to hide you. We don't have none of that. So where do Christianity come up with this dogma that Rahab had this great faith, and by faith she hid the spies? She didn't have faith. She had common sense. She knows our history, family. We have been in the desert, how long? 40 years. We had conquered, Uncle Masha had beat the brakes off all those nations. You don't think Jericho heard about them? They didn't even know what to call us. Because at the time, we wasn't a nation yet. They was calling us, those Egyptians are taking over. Those Canaanites are taking over. So Rahab wasn't this great-hearted with she believed, and all you got to do, Rahab believed, and because Rahab believed, she was saved. No, Rahab had common sense. I know our people got no sense. They throwing babies in the fire. I know this got to be wrong. You ever been with a group and you're like, I'm going to fade to the back because I know this ain't. So that's what Rahab did to her own nation. She's like, listen, we've been hearing about y'all in the wilderness for some time now. We heard what y'all did to Ammon. We heard what y'all did to the Edomites. Or we ain't touched the Edomites. But so Rahab ain't no great heart of the faith. She got common sense. Yeah, it's probably, y'all about to come in and do y'all thing. I just do me one favor. Just when y'all come in and mop these people up, just save me in my house. So she didn't have faith in our power because she didn't know our power. If you knew our power, why you staying in Jericho, the city of the moon?
And you wouldn't be carrying on with the brothel.
Yeah, I was about to say the same thing, bro.
I say, you make your living, either you're prostituting or you're running a brothel. Either or, it's the same thing.
The drama came to her front door and she made a choice.
I made a choice. Yeah, I see it's coming.
I see what's good.
It's common sense.
That's all that was.
The fact that y'all two spies were able to get behind our gates, these idiots don't know what they're doing. So Rahab didn't have no great faith. It was common sense. Listen, I got y'all. Please spare my house. So she didn't have faith. She had common sense. But that's the Christian dogma you get. Just have faith. Mr. Gentile, who do you have faith in when our power never promised you anything? He promised you favor if you show favor to my people. That's not a covenant, that's a pledge.
Even you can still cut them regardless, even in their own corruption. When it says she had faith, then it tells you she did something. So you can't say she had faith and then she was just like, but y'all can't stay here.
What?
And then that corroborates exactly what James was saying. He was saying, what good is faith if your sister is cold and she need a coat? Like, you just have faith, you're gonna get warm, baby, instead of doing something for them. So both ways, you can get them both ways. You know,
Your doctrine makes no sense, you're saying.
It makes no sense at all.
But Yaakov came out and said it, faith without works is
dead.
So Rahab didn't have no great faith. And this Christian dogma, they have inserted their dogma. When they tell you, we found 500 Greek fragments in the New Testament, and they all say the same thing. It's lies. How all 500 fragments are saying the same thing by 20 different people?
Made it up.
They added nothing to these letters, but we don't have the originals. How you know they? How can you possibly say with a straight face that they added nothing to these letters when the originals are gone? Now, see, man, you see what you look like a fool in front of the Most High. So this heart or the heart of gold is Christian Dogma. She didn't have a heart of gold. She had common sense. And running a brothel, she's a what? See about that bread. I'm a business woman. Don't come in here
She was
and I know holy people. I could change the brothel into something else. Maybe a hair salon. Y'all don't like smile. Maybe I can clean y'all smile. Maybe I could trim y'all smile up or something. Harlot was about that bread.
She was Heidi Fleiss.
Well, I can't hear you.
You remember she was Heidi Fleiss. You old enough.
Heidi Fleiss. Say it again.
She was Heidi Fleiss from the 90s.
Was that in that's in okay, because there's one in New York. There's one we went past. I'll tell you too much. There was one in Ardmore, Pennsylvania too. So I don't remember that name, but there was one. We was doing something we weren't supposed to be doing, and so we was like, well, we might as well go around see her house, because like her house was like a this is in Pennsylvania outside of Philly, and she was a madam in the 80s. Like they was like this woman like she ran their blocks. Like she had her sons, and so we went to her house, like took pictures. So yeah, that's Abishai, you're right. That's Rahab is about business. She's not having no faith in our power. She's just about business. She sees what's about to happen. She heard about the Israelites or these Canaanites or Egyptians. She heard what they've been doing, and now she's making a deal, a backdoor deal. I will hide y'all. I will even tell y'all there are weak points in the gate wall in the walls. Just spare me and my house. Hallelujah. She's a businesswoman. So let's break down how this whore is. Maybe I should stop saying whore. This harlot is not on our Messiah's tree. I'm just going to put it out there. This harlot is not on his tree, and we're going to prove it. Let's go to Joshua. Let's go to Joshua 6:25.
You saw me, I'm like, I was saying,
she's not on his tree.
That's not her.
Our Messiah, again, now you're saying that your Messiah is Canaan. Mm-hmm. You're saying your Messiah is a Gentile, has Gentile blood in him, and his grandmother was a prostitute or ran a brothel.
He just garbage, ain't it, according to them.
But he was without spot or blemish.
And he hunchback, and he can't see, and he got cross-eyed. They just start saying,
your doctrine makes no sense. Your doctrine makes no sense. Well, even Messiah had a Gentile in his family tree. So it ain't about a bloodline. Joshua 6, and we're going to jump around, y'all. Joshua 6 and 25.
My notes on this.
We're about to destroy Christian dogma that's been inserted into our way of life, our Israelite, the rock. Shema. Joshua 6, verse 25. Read.
And Joshua saved Rahab the harlot alive, and her father's household, and all that she had, and she dwelleth in Israel even unto this day, because she hid the messengers which Joshua sent to spy out Jericho.
This elder, who's ever recording the rest of Joshua's work, he's recalling what happened, how Joshua brought us into the land, and he's recording that Joshua kept his word to Rahab the harlot in her household. And then he finishes off with saying that she and her household is with us till this day. She's with us till this day. Wouldn't this be a good spot to say she married Salmon?
Yes, sir.
But he didn't say she married into Salmon's house, did she? So this is when we tell people, just give me book. Don't give me your Jesuit education and your great exegete was only common sense that someone would marry her because she was in the land. We got plenty of women coming with us from the desert. Why would we need to marry this filthy Canaanite or pagan who's been running a brothel? You've been in Jericho, the city of the moon, worshiping the moon god, but one of us gonna marry you?
Nah.
So you don't have a pretext, you don't have a text that says Salmon married her. And this writer is saying she's with us to this day, but he doesn't say she's married. Chef?
And how often when a woman came about, did they talk about her beauty, how fair she was?
Huh.
Give you some details that we was like, yo, she bad.
Right. Right.
We don't get none of that right here.
Huh.
But we just gonna take her, knowing what she doing, where she coming from.
So again, this Christian Dogma are just making statements that they can't prove. Now you print it up in your church manuals and your Bible store paraphernalia, and now you push it. Jesus' grandmother was a harlot, and she either was a Canaanite or she was one of those nations that came and conquered, but she's a Gentile, and Messiah's grandmother is a Gentile. So why are you talking like you're from Jacob?
And then the case has to be brought out. It's in the law that we shouldn't mate with the Canaanites. So they're saying that Solomon, one of his ancestors.
They can't hear you,
So the case also had to be stated. So if Rahab was a Canaanite, and the law tells us not to make marriages with Canaanites, so Solomon broke the law by mating with Rahab.
We got a Berean in the house, all in my notes. You see how this is, knowing, being strong in the history, you can expose Christianity easily. When you hear stuff, you're like, no, it's right here. So what he's saying, I got coming up. Let's go to Joshua 24. Joshua 24, and let's pick it up at verse 29. Joshua 24, and we're going to pick it up at verse 29. Shimon? This harlot with a heart of gold is not on our Messiah's bloodline. She's not in his tree.
Before we go there, what do you think about this scripture, 6:23? Yeah, 6:23. I'll just read it real quick for speed.
Yeah, it's coming up.
Oh, okay.
Everything's once you start putting in class, in the Old Testament, the precepts are coming up. I knew this when I say this is fugazi. She can't be on Messiah's bloodline. But
24.
Let's go to 24, verse 29. Joshua 24, and we're going to start at 29.
Shema.
Read.
And it came to pass after these things that Joshua the son of Nun, the servant of the Most High, he died, being 110 years old.
Underline 110 years old. Yahushua or Joshua, he died 110 years old. Read on.
And they buried him in the border of his inheritance in Timnath Serah, which is in Mount Ephraim.
He's an Ephraimite,
on the north side of the hill of Gaash.
31.
And Yasha'Allah served Yahweh all the days of Yashiyah and all the days of the elders that overlived Yashiyah and which had known all the works of Yahweh and he had done for Yasha'Allah.
Now this is where y'all just came in at. It says that Joshua died 110 years old, and during his time, and even the elders that outlived him, Eleazar. Anybody remember the name Phinehas? What did Phinehas do? These were elders that played no games with you. They played no games with you. So during Joshua time, and y'all see the name up there? Remember Achor? What happened to Achor?
That man got burned.
Not burnt. Well, yeah, they did him.
They burned him out.
They stoned him and his family and then burnt them alive. Because when they came into the land, he took the accursed thing and hid it. And Joshua, what does Joshua tell him out? Why have thou troubled Joshua, why hast thou troubled us? Now the Most High is going to trouble you. This man confessed and told Joshua, I hid some Babylonian garments in the dirt of my tent. And Joshua says, when y'all go unbury that, get that mess and bring down here. He confessed. Did Joshua forgive him? You just got 3,000 Israelites killed. Joshua says, why have you troubled Israel? Now we will trouble you. This is where we come from. So what are the chances?
I don't want to hear that talk.
What are the chances somebody, because it says all Joshua's time, and then those who outlived Joshua, Eleazar and Phinehas, no one played any games with Yah. What are the chances that one of them are going to marry a Canaanite? What are the chances one of these elders is going to allow that to go on? But you got a doctorate. You've been to Harvard. You're a PhD of African American Studies. But you don't know this word. You sound crazy talking about Messiah's grandmother is Rahab the harlot, living in Jericho, running a brothel. So it don't matter because she had faith and she was saved. So that's all you need to be saved is faith. So now let's go back to that, the precept. Let's go back to 23 verse 12, because it said multiple times. Joshua 23 and 12. So during Joshua's time, and after he died, Israel served Yah. And what serving Yah means, family?
Kept the law, statutes, commandments.
They kept the law. They had elders didn't want to accept no excuses. So this Rahab being a Canaanite, being on our Messiah's line, it don't match our culture. Let's read Joshua 23 verse 12.
Else if ye do in any wise go back and cleave unto the remnant of these nations, even these that remain among you, and shall make marriages with them, and go in unto them, sleep with them, and they to you, know for a certainty that Yahweh Ya'alahayim will no more drive out any of these nations from before you, but they shall be snares and traps unto you, and scourges in your sides, and thorns in your eyes, until you perish off this land, perish from off this good land which Yahweh Ya'alahayim have given to you.
So this is when they're going to say, see, they did marry Rahab, because that's why they got pushed out. Now that's when you precept the verse that Joel brought in. Joshua told them, let's go to it. 24 and
6 and 23.
6 and 23. Let's go to it. This is how you gotta be a Bereans, because they're trying to run. See, that's why they got kicked out, because they was marrying these women. Again, that's why we open up with all the days of Joshua and all the days of the elders after Joshua. Israel served the Most High. Israel served the Most High. Now let's go to Joshua 6 and 23.
Verse 23. And the young men that were spies went in and brought out Rahab and her father and her mother and her brethren and all that she had. And they brought out all her kindreds and left them without the camp of Yasharah.
This is just showing you that Joshua kept his word. So yes, she was alive. Yes, she was outside the camp as they're setting fire to the city. But is it coming up next?
It says, and left them without the camp of Yasharah.
Because the verse you pulled, Joshua reminds them of the law once again before he dies. I think it's in 24. When he says not to take their women, he told them twice not to do it. So we just read that he's telling them not to make marriages with these nations, because if you do, the Most High is going to drive them out. But you can't run to that if you're a Christian and say, see, God did run them out because they made marriages with these nations. That's why I led with All the days of Joshua and all the days of their elders, Israel kept the law. That's the point I want y'all to remember. All the days of Joshua and all the days of Eleazar and Phinehas, Israel kept the law. And how old was Joshua when he died? 110, right? Make it make sense. Make it make sense. How in the world Salmon married Rahab and had Boaz? Make it make sense. Let's go to Numbers 14:29. Numbers 14:29. You don't have a strong foundation, it's easy for you to be swayed left and right. It's easy for you to be confused. I don't know what to believe. He's saying this, he's showing me this precept. You can't contradict the law. If anyone's contradicting the law, they're out of order. Numbers 14:29, Shimon, read.
Your carcasses shall fall in this wilderness, and all that were numbered of you, according to your whole number, from 20 years old and upward, which you have murmured against me.
So here, y'all know this story. The Most High says, this wicked generation, all of y'all 20 and up, I'm killing y'all in this wilderness because y'all didn't believe me. So doing the math, and I'm not good with math, so please do your own research. Y'all double check me, download this, triple check me, because I don't care about being wrong. I want to be in line with y'all. So Father says everybody 20 years, let's just say 21 to have easy math. Anybody 21 and up, y'all dying in the wilderness. So we know Joshua led us into Canaan, so Joshua couldn't have been 21. Joshua had to be 20, right? So Joshua is 20 years in the wilderness, and these are all hypotheticals, just pretty numbers for easy math. How long was we in the wilderness, family?
40 years.
40 years. So that means 20 plus 40, Joshua had to at least be 60 at minimum when he took Jericho, right? So Joshua is 60 years old when he takes us around Jericho 7 times. Joshua falls asleep at 110 years old, right? So if Joshua falls asleep at 110, Joshua spent a total time in the promised land, Canaan, 50 years. Does that math add up? Yeah. That math add up? So Joshua spent 50 years in Canaan, leaving us, and it says that for the 50 years that he was alive, and then we don't have an exact number of the elders that overlived him. But for 50 plus years, no one played games with the law. They followed the law. And we just read part of the law was what? Not taking Canaanite wives, right? Keeping that in mind. Joshua's time in Canaan is 50 years, right? Rahab, when the Israelites arrived, let's just, for sake of argument, let's say Rahab is 20 years old, right? Let's say Rahab is 20, and we're being generous. We're being generous. We're going to be real generous. Let's just say she's 20. If Rahab is 20 and Joshua lives in Canaan for 50 years, when Joshua dies, Rahab is how old?
70.
Rahab is 70. Being conservative, she's 70 when Joshua dies. Our scroll says for Joshua's time and the elders who overlived Joshua, no one broke the law purposely, meaning they're not going to allow you to marry no Canaanite. So when Joshua dies, Rahab is 70 years old, right? Let's go to Judges 2, verse 7. I know it's a lot of turning, family. This is what we got to do to uncover these lies. This is what we got to do. Joshua 2, and we're going to pick up at verse 7. Shimon? Joshua 2, starting at 7 through 8. Read.
And the people served Yahweh all the days of Joshua and all the days of the elders that outlived Joshua, who had seen all the great works of Yahweh that he did for Israel.
So that's confirming. So at the minimum, we can give Rahab 70 years old, but I don't want to put too much conjecture in because, we stand on just giving you book. So the minimum when Joshua died, Rahab is 70. But then the elders outlived Joshua. We don't know how long Phinehas and Eleazar outlived him. So we're going to stay with 70, right? Read on.
And Joshua, the son of Nun, the servant of Yahweh, died being 110 years old.
Verse 9.
And they buried him in the border of his inheritance, Timnath Heres, in the mount of Ephraim, on the north side of the hill Gaash.
Verse 10.
And also all that generation were gathered unto their fathers, and there arose another generation after them, which knew not Yahweh, nor yet the works which he had done for Israel.
So this is when we have to be Bereans, and we have to apply textual criticism and use common sense that Yah gave you. Common sense is what Yah bless you with. So Joshua dies, being conservative. Rahab is 70 years old. And now that generation that feared Yah, they've died, and another generation has arose. So we don't know how long that generation was alive, so we're going to stay with 70, right? Let's drop down to verse 10. Oh, we read verse 10. I'm sorry, let's go over to Joshua 3 and 8. Judges 3 and 8, I'm sorry. Judges 3, verse 8. The righteous generation is gone. Now a young, rebellious generation who knew not Yah, who didn't see his great works, they're coming up. And let's see what happens. Joshua 3, verse 8. Shema. Read.
Therefore the anger of Yahweh was hot against Israel, and he sold them into the hand of Cushan Rishatham, king of Mesopotamia, and the children of Israel served Cushan 8 years.
So the rebellious generation comes up, and Yah tries to warn them, and the first warning, he sends them into slavery for 8 years. What's 70 plus 8?
78.
78, and we have no mention of Boaz yet, right? Because Rahab is supposed to be the mother of Boaz. By now, minimum, with very conservative numbers, Rahab has to be 78 years old. And that's being conservative, right? Let's drop down to verse 11. Verse 11.
I got some, but I'm gonna let you keep transitioning, but I'll remember.
All right, you got a young mind. You don't left you.
Hey, well, this is the first time they got sent into captivity after being established as a nation, right?
Mm-hmm.
You said before how the Most High, he don't bring things on to the greatest calamity or the harshest at once, right?
Come.
So he sent them to captivity for 8 years. What does 8 represent in Yasharallah? A new beginning, a fresh beginning, a new start. So he sends you into captivity for 8 years. You get a new beginning, and now let's see if we can get this thing right.
Get it right.
Right?
Come.
How long? Now the last captivity, he said your seed would be in a land that's not theirs for how long?
430, is it?
400 years.
400 years.
400 is our captivity.
Come.
400 divided by 8 is 50. Jubilee.
A jubilee. Come.
I now this just all I ain't got no details.
Right. But
I'm
that's how you
like,
start picking up trails.
I'm like, what in the world is going on?
That's how you start picking up trails. And what you would do, you would start writing your notes down and building your notes. And then the Rawaki will say, go here, turn to this page. That's how these classes come about. That's the power we have following this law. It's not us, it's the Father. My son is searching, show him that. Show him that. So I didn't catch that.
So after that 400, it's the I don't know math like that, but like an 8 is a derivative or a root or whatever it is, square root.
Come. Whatever they call
it. Whatever.
Their mess.
But it's a representation of a new beginning.
New beginning.
Good gracious.
New beginning. So the wicked generation rises up, and God just gives them a warning. I'm gonna send you all into slavery for 8 years. Now, and let's read verse 9. Let's read verse 9 too.
And when the children of Yasharallah or Israel cried unto Yahweh, Yahweh raised up a deliverer to the children of Yasharallah,
a Messiah,
who delivered them, saved them, even Othniel, the son of Kenaz, Caleb's younger brother.
Who was Caleb?
Caleb was the one that was with
Joshua. What are the chances Caleb is outliving Joshua? What are the chances Caleb is growing soft in his old age and gonna let you marry a Canaanite? Not very likely.
And and then what tribe is he from?
Judah.
I got some notes. Some because our names are in different tribes. Some say he's from Judah. I think I gotta double check because it's been a minute. I think it's more witnesses that he's from Judah. I think it's more witnesses.
So
I gotta double
with
check.
him being from Judah, the deliverer,
His baby brother.
the deliverer out of Judah, just like Yahushua, the deliverer out of Judah, for
Your brother shall serve you.
mm.
You see, this is what you don't get this in church. This is the Father keeping his word. Little old us dirtbags in Greensboro, just Father, show me the truth. And look what's happening. We ain't no great mighty people. The Father's keeping his word. So Caleb is still alive, and Caleb's younger brother is bringing us out this first captivity, right? So I just want you to see that Caleb is still here, and Caleb and his younger brother, they seen us in the death. They seen Yah. They ain't playing no games with these people. They ain't playing no games, right? So, but no, I may have to retract that because now it says that generation died. So Caleb is part of Caleb's little brother is part of this new generation. So I got to retract that. Caleb is not alive because it said according to the text, that whole generation who knew Yah, they fallen asleep. So Caleb is not alive here. I'll retract that.
his younger brother.
His younger brother. His younger brother's alive.
I know brothers, they talk to their brothers about their experiences.
Right.
So
Right.
Caleb already.
So Caleb knows.
Yeah.
Caleb knows. So the first captivity is 8 years. Just being conservative, Rahab is 78. There's no birth of Boaz yet.
And can we read number 10,
We did, didn't we?
verse 10?
I thought we read that.
We read verse 9.
Okay, verse 10.
The only reason is
Oh, that
that,
was chapter 2.
and the Ruach or the spirit of Yahweh came upon him. So he just went Super Saiyan. and he judged Yashar'Allah and went out to war. And Yahweh delivered Cushan Rishatha, king of Mesopotamia, into his hand, and his hand prevailed against Cushan.
So what Shemoyah is alluding to for us older folks and those who don't follow the anime, throughout our text, you'll see that phrase, and the spirit came upon him. And what we're alluding to, we can't prove it, but when the spirit of Yah comes upon you, you become your original state of being a superhuman. But for us Israelites, it's not super, it's just who we are. It says our forefathers was climbing walls. Judah was your head and shield while they hurling rocks at Judah, and Judah just keep climbing with one shield and got over the wall. So when you read and the power of Yah came upon these people, it's like we're not a mere mortal anymore. And it's all throughout our scrolls we see that. That's who we are. That's what we're lawful. So at minimum, Rahab is 78 and Boaz's generation is nowhere around. Let's read verse 11. This is Judges 3, verse 11.
And the land had rest for 40 years. And Othniel, the son of Kenaz, died.
This may be a proof text that 40 years is a generation too. Because Othniel, Caleb's younger brother, judged us, and he died after 40 years. That may be a proof text because we always had a discussion going on. How long is a generation? And he told that generation in the wilderness, only those under 20 is going to live, and y'all was in the wilderness 40 years. So this is another witness that according to our Father, a generation is 40 years. So now add 78 plus 40. How old is Rahab?
118.
118 years old. Being conservative, Rahab is 118 years old. We're nowhere near Boaz's generation.
Boaz, that was like 300 years later.
Considering they made a point to let you know how old Sarah was. Why would they bring her up?
She struggled at 90, 99. And now we got a pagan at 118. And you telling me she was around for Boaz? But all your Christian literature got it. Showing you the great power and the great majesty, majestic power of Elohim to save who you want to save, to show favor who you want to have. I don't care about no Abraham. Sound good, don't it? Sound good.
You don't care about no Abraham, don't sound good to me.
You got a warrior plan? They have a church. They have a church. And your Christian literature makes no sense talking about Rahab the harlot is Boaz's mother. At minimum, she's 118 years old, and y'all struggle to have children because y'all wicked. Yeah. Father punished these people, even us, because these nations was throwing babies in the fire to Moloch. So Rahab at 118, Boaz is nowhere around. Let's go to Ruth 4. Let's go to Ruth 4. I'm trying to take my time on purpose, family. I'm taking my time on purpose to make this clear.
I feel like Jeremiah. Fire in my bones. Good gracious. Revelations coming out.
Their Christian doctrine makes no sense when you learn who you are. Ruth 4, and we're going to put it at 17. Read.
And the woman, and the women, her neighbors.
One second. I know what's there, but I want to make sure I'm with you. Ruth 4, and we're going to put it up at 17. Read.
And the women, her neighbors, gave it a name, saying, there is a son born to Naomi, and they called his name Obed. He is the father of Jesse, the father of David. Now these are the generations of Perez. Perez begot Hezron, and Hezron begot Ram, and Ram begot Amminadab, and he begot Nahshon, and Nahshon begot Salmon, and Salmon begot Boaz, and Boaz begot Obed. Obed begot Jesse, Jesse begot David.
So the Christian Dogma, whoever translated Matthew and wrote our Messiah's lineage, they saw fit to tell you that Rahab the harlot comes and marries Salmon, and Salmon and Rahab had Boaz. With conservative numbers, the generation that rebelled, if Rahab is still alive, Rahab at minimum has to be 118 years old. So, and these are very conservative numbers. If Rahab is 25 or 30, when the spies come meet her, it's definitely blown out the water that she's having babies at 150 years old.
And with that, you point out the fact that she was a harlot and she bore the Messiah, but you would talk about how miraculous it is that she had a child at 118.
Right. You just gloss over the fact that this old Canaanite woman bore a child at her old age, and she just happens to be the grandmother of one of the greatest men our nation ever saw before. So, using very conservative numbers, I'm going to start with David. Let's start with David to make it easier, right? David comes out at verse 22, right? So David's father is who?
Jesse.
And Jesse's father is who?
Obed.
And Obed's father is who?
Boaz.
Boaz. And Boaz's father is who? So Boaz is what? 4 generations from David? 1, 2, 3, 4. Boaz is 4 generations older than David. And they want us to believe in Christianity that Boaz's mother is a Canaanite harlot named Rahab, and because of her faith, Salmon married her. But let's be remembered of Judges 2:7-8. It says all the generations of Joshua's time, and even the elders that outlived Joshua, all that generation feared Yah, and they kept the commandments. And part of our commandments is that we are not to marry any Canaanite. And worst case scenario, we have prophecies that all the seed of Canaan will be destroyed. So what are the chances that our patriarch Salmon actually married Rahab and had Boaz? Slim to none. So Salmon's father is Nahshon. Let's go back to Numbers 1 and 3. Let's go back to Numbers 1 and 3. This is all the boring research you got to do in our scrolls to get to the truth. You just can't get this understanding in a 30-minute, 40-minute cookie cutter message and then we have in church. Y'all had a good time today, family? Did the spirit move today, family? The spirit really came in here and did a number on us. Yeah, he did. He did a number on you, all right. Numbers 1, and let's read verse 3. Shema. Numbers 1, starting at verse 3.
From 20 years old and upward, all that are able to go forth to war in Yashar'Allah, thou and Aaron shall number them by their armies.
So here's the Father giving us commandment to get the army together. Because remember, we're not a nation. We don't even know how to fight. Yah is teaching us everything. So Yah is telling them, everybody, whether you like it or not, you've been drafted. If you're an Israelite and you're 20 years and up, you're picking up a sword.
Mine made up. Look, whatever he tell me to do, doing it.
So everybody from 20 and up has to fight in the wars of us coming out of Egypt, right? Everybody 20 and up has to fight in the wars. Everybody 20 and up has to fight in the wars. What happened to everybody who was 20 and up? They died in the wilderness. Let's drop down to verse 7. Numbers 1 and 7.
Of Judah, Nahshon, the son of Amminadab.
So of the tribe of Judah, the generation is getting ready to fight, it's Nahshon. So Nahshon was 20 and up. That means Nahshon didn't make it out the wilderness. So it has to be Salmon who's marrying Rahab. But Dr. Seminary, Salmon is part of the generation that came in with Joshua, that feared the Most High and kept the law. So Salmon can't marry Rahab. So which one of these Israelites is marrying Rahab to have Boaz? It's false doctrine, family. It makes no sense. It makes no sense. There's no way Rahab fits to marry Salmon if you know our history and you know our culture. Salmon didn't marry the harlot Rahab, family. There's no way this is accurate. This is man-made doctrine. This is the doctrine of the Jesuits trying to inject their dogma. It don't matter about your bloodline. God can use a harlot and change her heart, and she was on the line of the Messiah because she had faith. God ain't worried about your bloodline. He's worried about your faith. This makes no sense. This is Christian dogma that's been inserted into our culture. And let's give you a text proof. This is a commentary on the book of Joshua, and this is by, y'all see this name, right? This is Carl Frederick Kale, DD. What that DD stand for? Doctor of Divinity.
There you go.
He's a doctor, y'all. Here's this good doctor. You respect their system. He's a doctor, and he writes a commentary on the book of Joshua. Let's read what his little footnote says.
This Rahab, This Rahab is evidently the same as the Rahab mentioned in the genealogy of Jesus in Matthew 1, verse 5, as the wife of the Israelite chief Salmon and the mother of Boaz, one of the ancestors of David. It is indeed true that Theophylact on Matthew questions their identity and I can't hear this.
You don't worry about it.
In a dissertation on Rahab and Rahab in the Biblios
So these, what's going on, he's pointing out that, yes, common theologians suggest that this Rahab and this Rahab are the same, but these good doctors are saying, wait a minute, we got to take a look at this Rahab and Rahab.
That's why it says evidently.
Tom. So these good doctors are like, wait a minute, is Rahab and Rahab really the same people? Read on.
So they adduced 4 reasons in proof of the difference between the harlot Rahab and the mother of Boaz. But Wolf has shown the insufficiency of these reasons to establish his point.
So this Wolf, I'm being objective here, let you see what's going on. This Wolf is saying, yeah, y'all break down how these 2 women are different. I don't agree with you. And he established his points by different means. But I want to draw your eye to the highlighted names there. You see Rahab, in parentheses, is Rahab in the Greek. And you see how the symbol, that P looking symbol, that's the Greek R. They call it a rho. So in the Greek, her name is RAA, and that B sign is B. They got that little accent mark telling you that the H is silent. So in the Greek, they spell Rahab like that. And then down for Boaz's mother, her name is spelled with a R-A, and that X right there, that X is their Chi. So they're saying, if these 2 women are the same women, why are their names spelled differently? And it's always like this. Rahab is always spelled like Rahab, and Rahab is spelled like Rahab. If they're the same people, one of these translators would have noticed this. Hey, we got to correct this spelling. That's what he's bringing out. In spirit of my brother Benaiah, but wait, there's more.
There's more, family.
As being
only 2 generations removed from David, a reason which might have some force if the genealogies always contain the whole of the generations.
So this Rahab, the harlot, for her to be Boaz's mother, Boaz is only 2 generations from David. And we got 2 witnesses. The generation of 40 years died in the wilderness, and then Othniel, Caleb's brother, the land had peace for 40 years. We got enough witnesses that said the generation according to father is 40 years. So if Boaz is 2 generations from David, that's 80 years. At minimum, conservative, we got Rahab being 118 when Joshua dies. Y'all see where I'm going? This is implausible that she's the mother of Boaz. Read on.
The 4th, which is the most plausible, is that the names are different. That of the harlot Rahab being written both in the Septuagint version of the book of Joshua and also in Hebrews chapter 9, verse 31, 11:31, and James chapter 2, verse 25. That of the mother of Boaz, on the contrary, in Matthew's chapter 1, verse 15,
is R-A-X or R-A-K-A-B. So what he's saying, When Rahab is mentioned in the Septuagint, in Joshua, and in Hebrews, because Hebrews is in Greek, and in James, they are consistent with how they spell Rahab's name. And they never spelled Rahab's name like they spelled Rahab's name, who is the true wife of Salmon, who is the true mother of Boaz. It says this is not an arbitrary mistake. They never spelled this woman's name the same as Rahab's name. You missed that, Dr. Seminary, but you gotta accept their doctrine if you want that certificate. You can't buck up against your teacher if you want his degree. Read on.
But this is deprived of all force by the fact that Josephus always speaks of the harlot Rahab as
the hater,
R-A-K-A-B, or B, right?
Mm-hmm.
The identity of the two names, therefore, cannot be doubted, especially when we take into account that the only women mentioned in the genealogy of Jesus are such as renowned in the history of Israel, and that whilst the harlot Rahab was undoubtedly one of these, no other woman of the same name is anywhere spoken of in the Old Testament. The hesitation which has been shown to admit that the harlot Rahab and the mother of Boaz was the same has no doubt arisen from the feeling which induced the Chaldeans to change the former into the hostess of an inn. But often the offense taken at her dishonorable mode of life. But Jerome on Matthew has made upon this point the following striking remarks. In the
just some Greek stuff.
Oh, okay, yes.
This is when they started shifting their Christian dogma into the text. They're scratching their heads saying, how can this harlot be on the line of Messiah? How can this be? And that's when they started suggesting, interpolating, exegeting. Oh, because of her faith, she was allowed to marry in. And now, because the Babylonians have seen that, and I wasn't going to say this, but I gotta tell you this, because they mentioned the Babylonians, the Chaldeans. So it was the rabbis in their Talmud who alluded to, and Joshua married Rahab. So now the Chaldeans, learning our history that Joshua married Rahab, according to Talmud, the Chaldeans made up a story where she wasn't a harlot, she just kept the brothel. You see all this conjecture going on? This is what you're reading in the New Testament, building your salvation on, family. This is why we're telling our family, your salvation is in jeopardy. Your salvation is in jeopardy. I think we read this one. We read that one. This last slide about that, this is the same author, Doctor of Divinity.
In the genealogy of David, no mention is made of Rahab, either in Ruth chapter 4, verse 20, or 1 Chronicles chapter 2, verse 11. And from this,
it don't matter.
Fritsky on Matthew and Mora on Joshua have inferred that Matthew followed some tradition of doubtful authority.
So they're blaming it on Matthew. They're saying Matthew follows some doubtful tradition, but we don't have the original of Matthew. So don't put this on Matthew. Put this on these translators. Matthew, there's no way Matthew's going to put a harlot, a Canaanite on Messiah's generation. This is why we got to go through all this to try to win our Christians, to tell them you're following a tradition of men. You have a dogma that's been added to these letters by pagans, and you think you have salvation. You think you have salvation. So that's what I wanted to bring home. Let's hear it now. Lastly, drop down to lastly.
Lastly, the historical veracity of the genealogy of Jesus in the Gospel of Matthew is no more affected by the statement made by a Talmudist to the effect that Rahab was married to Joshua than by the rest of the groundless fables related by later rabbins with the reference to the woman to whom the history before us has given such renown.
So these Talmudists started making up stories and old wives' fable. But if Joshua married Rahab, you really is off, because why? What tribe was Joshua from? Ephraim. That has nothing to do with Messiah. But Joshua stood for the law. So Talmudists, you up there trying to be big shot in Babylon and impressing people, made up cockamamie stuff. It makes no sense that Joshua married Rahab when he stood for the law, family. So the point I'm bringing home, family, this is why we can't open up the New Testament and you think you're reading the true history of the Israelites and you think you're reading the true letters of the apostles, because you're not. You're not. This is right off JSTOR. JSTOR is an academic website. You can get a free account, and you can only read the articles online with your free account. To download the articles, you have to pay a fee. So y'all know me, I'm kind of thrifty right now, especially right now. So I just screenshotted the intro to this letter. Can you read this, family?
The appearance of 4 Old Testament women, Tamar, Rahab, Ruth, and the wife of Uriah, in the Matthean genealogy has occasioned much discussion. Not only must the inclusion of any woman or women in genealogy be explained, since Jewish genealogies of this kind, tracing someone's descent through the male line, included women as wives and mothers only for definite reasons, but also the inclusion of specifically these 4, and not, for example, matriarchs such as Sarah, Rebecca, or Leah.
It's very fishy.
Explained.
It's very, why no Israelite runs down his lineage and mentions any of his mothers. It's not a disrespect to our mother, it's just not our culture. So who would put these women on Messiah's line? And then the 4 women you put on his line, they are suspect. Tamar is the Judah's daughter-in-law, and she's a Canaanite, same as Rahab. And then y'all know what happened with Uriah's wife. Who's Uriah's wife? Bathsheba. Why would you pick these 4 women, but the great notable women, Sarah, Rachel, you don't mention them? So you're breaking Israelite culture, mentioning women in someone's genealogy, but you're mentioning the most holy line we have, and you put women. Matthew, why would you do this, Matthew? Let's go to Luke 2. Let's go to Luke chapter 2. Matthew, why would you do this? Somebody's lying. Somebody's lying. Luke 2, if we'll look at verse 23. We might have to make a part 2. Y'all all right? Cold in here, ain't it? Luke 2, and let's pick up at verse 23. Shema. Let's read.
As it is written in the law of the Most High, every male that openeth the womb shall be. Am I reading this?
Mm-hmm.
As it is written in the law of the Most High, every male that openeth the womb shall be called holy of the Most High, and to offer a sacrifice according to that which is said in the law of the Most High, a pair of turtle doves or 2 young pigeons. Continue.
No, for the sake of time, we're going to jump around. So this is just alluding to showing you that our king was born of the Torah. His parents followed the Torah. Mary and Joseph brought him in the temple like they were supposed to, according to the law, and Mary offered the sacrifice according to the law. Let's jump over to chapter 3. Let's jump over to chapter 3, and let's pick it up at verse 26 or 20, 23. Luke 3:23.
And Jesus himself began to be about 30 years of age, being as was supposed the son of Joseph, which was the son of Halah, which was the son of Matthah, which was the son of Lawah, which is the son of Melchi.
So for the sake of time, y'all see the lineage here, right? This is Luke account of Messiah's lineage, right? And for the sake of time, let's drop down to verse 31.
Verse 31, which was the son of Malaiah, which was the son of Manan, which was the son of Mattatha, which was the son of Nathan, which was the son of David, which was the son of Jesse, which was the son of Obed, which was the son of Boaz, which was the son of Salmon, which was the son of Naasan.
What y'all notice about Luke's genealogy?
He don't mention those women.
He don't mention the women. Luke stuck to Israelite Barak, Israelite custom, but some reason Matthew strayed, it ain't adding up. These letters have been in pagans' hands, family, to suit their doctrine, Let's go back to the presentation.
One explanation. One explanation which the present writers favors is that the four women were understood to be Gentiles and were included in order to show that the Messiah, whose male ancestors in his direct descent from Abraham could not, by definition, be Gentiles, nevertheless had Gentile ancestors.
It's for everybody. It don't matter about being a pure bloodline. Messiah had Gentiles in his bloodline. That means your Messiah is tainted a lamb. He's a spotted lamb. You see how the great implications, Christian, your lamb is spotted. Can a spotted lamb be offered as a sacrifice for your sins?
And then it creates such a delusion and confusion because this shows that those people can't be the people because they said the line goes by the mother. So if they accept this, then they can't accept those people who are saying their genealogy goes by the line of their mother. So either way, they got
your doctrine is off.
It's off
because we don't follow the mother line anyway. So if you want to use these women and say he's tainted, well, now you're all for Israelite customs because we don't mention the women. But why would you use these four women who happen to be like questionable women, pushing your Christian dogma that is for the world? Let's finish this up, Bob. I think we're going to try to run through this next one.
Which part was that?
However, one question
which supporters of this explanation must answer is whether in Jewish tradition in the time of Matthew, Tamar was considered a Gentile. A second question, which was not only this, but any explanation of the inclusion of the four women must answer, why is Rahab considered the wife of Salma and mother of Boaz when neither the Old Testament nor any extant Jewish tradition casts her in this role?
Sing what out?
When neither the Old Testament nor any extant Jewish tradition puts her in this role.
Where are you getting your literature from saying that this Rahab is the harlot of Jericho when we got no proof text? You want to use your little terminology. There's no record, there's no black and white sentence that telling you that Salmon married Rahab and she's the mother. Where are you getting this from? Because you go to seminary and you want your doctorate and you want to preach somewhere, you want someone to hear your good sermon, you got to push this out. And you have no record. That's why we say, just give me book. Don't give me what your pastor told you and what Dr. Seminary learned in all these Jesuit schools. There's no proof text that Salma married Rahab anywhere in extinct, modern, old. There's no Israelite record that ever mentions Salma marrying this harlot. We just took you through all these witnesses. Salma is of the generation of Joshua, Phinehas, and Eleazar. Salma wouldn't play around with these brothers. Salma would not play around with these brothers. So your exegesis, you're exegeting that Rahab the harlot is on our king's line, and that means our king is for everybody. That's why he went to the Gentiles, because his grandma was a Gentile. You see how deep this stuff goes? So family, that's why we're continuing to uproot Christianity, this Christian dogma, by having these 4 women and saying Messiah's great-great-great-great-grandmother was a harlot from Jericho or Canaan. It helps perpetuate their dogma. Anybody that believes can be Christ's family. And then they're going to tell you, y'all Israelites always was mixing with the Gentiles. Look at Judah and Tamar. What they won't tell you is when you get the testament of the patriarchs, Judah was very sorrowful that he did that. Judah repented that he got drunk and slept with Tamar, and he never went into her again. Tamar exposed Judah and says, here, you should kill the man whose signet this is. When Judah saw that Tamar had his ring, he says, this woman has been more righteous than me. So Judah repented and never went into Tamar again, and he told his sons, be careful of wine and be careful of the Canaanite women. So because my elder sinned and it's recorded, that gives us the green light to do the same sin? Nah. It makes no sense. David and Bathsheba, King David repented for what he did to Uriah. So does that justify us having a man killed to have his woman? Because you got records of my elders doing it? That's the Christian dogma they want us to follow. And the whole point of this tainted genealogy of our Messiah, the true Messiah, faith is all that matters. He's not looking for Abraham's seed. He don't care about you being an Israelite.
And the Talmudic reason is to say he wasn't the one.
Tom. So we got a little bit more to read. If y'all all right, y'all can go ahead and eat. Chef brought some food. Gina made some wieners for y'all. Y'all looking like, man, y'all, sis, these are maniacs here. You all right?
Keep on track with that.
Let's run through this. Bereans, those online still with us. We still got people. Bereans. Let me say this. According to scripture, how long was Messiah's ministry? 3 years or 3.5 years?
3.5.
What's that, Gerald?
3.5, what they tell us.
3.5. Chef, you had something?
Yeah,
3.5. Everyone agree 3.5?
That's what I got.
You got to check the tape.
I'm doing a thing on this, so I actually, let's see. It says the timeline.
In 5 seconds, 3 years or 3.5 years?
It says 3.5 years, 30 AD.
So according to Christian dogma, our Messiah, the Lion of Judah, walked this earth and he preached after his baptism. The Christian dogma says he preached for 3.5 years. His ministry after his baptism was 3.5 years. Let's go with the Basar Pesach. Let's go with the reports of the Pesach that Messiah attended. Let's go to Matthew 26:2. I'm gonna try to run through this, but y'all stop me, interject, ask questions. It's not about getting through this, but this is a familiar backstory for most of us. Matthew 26. Matthew 26. According to Christian dogma, Christ preached 3.5 years after he was baptized. Matthew 26, verse 2. Shemai, read.
You know that after 2 days is the feast of the Passover, and that the Son of Man is betrayed to be crucified.
Is this in red for y'all? So Hamashiach is talking, right? Do y'all have a text where the part that says the feast of the Passover is in italicized letters? Anybody got a hard copy with italicized words?
It says the feast of is in italicized.
Yeah, that's how mine is.
Yours is?
Just feast of.
What does that indicate, family?
They wrote it in.
This is not original, right? But let's play along real quick. Hamashiach saying, you know, in 2 days is Passover. So according to our Father, if Passover is in 2 days, what's the number day of the week it is for them right here? It's day 12. It's day 12. Everyone agree? You see that? No peer pressure. We're Bereans. We can. According to our Father, Pesach is what day of the month?
14th of the 14th.
Even on the 14th. So if Hamashiach is saying in 2 days is Passover, it has to be the 12th day, right? You all tracking, right? Let's drop down to verse 8. Sorry. I gotta get some glasses. Verse 18. I've been with my wife, I swear to goodness. Oh my goodness. Verse 18.
And he said, go into the city to such a man and say to him, the master saith, my time is at hand. I will keep the Passover at thy house with my disciples.
So it's the 12th day of the first month, and Hamashiach is giving orders. He's telling the disciple, go into the city and tell him my master has need. My master, Hamashiach, is going to keep Passover at your house with his disciples, right? So we know Passover is coming in 2 days. Let's drop down to verse 75. Matthew 26, verse 75.
And Peter remembered the word of Yahushua, which said unto him, before the cock crow, thou shalt deny me thrice.
So y'all know the story. Peter's trying to be brave for Hamashiach, and Hamashiach told him, Peter, before this night, you shall deny me 3 times. So let's go over our timeline again. It's 2 days before Passover. So it's the 12th, right? And then Hamashiach says, before this night, you're going to deny me. So, and Peter denied him that night. So what night is it? The night of what?
The 12th.
The night of the 12th. Y'all tracking? Matthew 27:1.
When the morning was come, all the chief priests and elders of the people took counsel against Yahushua to put him to death.
When the morning was come, so what morning is this?
The 13th.
It's the 13th, and they're plotting to do what?
Kill the Messiah.
Kill Messiah, right? They're plotting to kill Messiah. Let's get the same timeline in Mark. Let's go to Mark 14 and 30. Mark 14 and 30, we're going to get the same Passover. Because for Messiah to preach 3.5 years after his baptism, they try to show with these letters that he celebrated 3 Passovers. And we're going to show you that's a lie. You don't have no text to prove that he celebrated 3 Passovers on earth. We're going to show you that. This is what we're building up to, family. Mark 14 and 30, read.
Mark chapter 14, verse 30. And Jesus, Yahushua, saith unto him, verily I say unto thee, that this day, even in this night, before the cock crow twice, thou shalt deny me 3 times, or thrice.
So we see Mark is recording the same Passover, right? Y'all with us? Mark is recording the same Passover. Let's drop down to Mark 14 and 72. Just to show you that this Passover, this famous Passover, all of them are recording the same Passover. These are not different Passovers. These are not different years. Mark 14:72, read.
And the second time the cock crew, Peter called to mind the word that Yahushua saith unto him, before the cock crow twice, thou shalt deny me thrice.
So Mark has it too. So what night is this?
The 13th.
Probably 12.
I mean, the night of the 12th.
It's the night of the 12th, right?
Yeah.
Mark 15:1.
And straightway in the morning, the chief priests held a consultation with the elders and scribes and the whole council, and bound Jesus and carried him away, delivered him to Pilate.
So what morning is this?
The 13th.
Mark is agreeing with Matthew on the 13th. The rabbis, the wicked Israelite rabbis, they arrested him. Now they're saying, let's take him to Pilate and trump some charges up on him, right? Let's drop down to Mark 15:25. 15:25.
And it was the 3rd hour, and they crucified him.
What's the 3rd hour of our day?
Yeah.
3rd hour of the light. Hour means light in Hebrew. So if you don't have light, you don't have an hour. So it's the 3rd hour that the sun been up, about 9 a.m. They crucify Hamashiach. When does Passover start? At noon?
At the evening,
10 a.m.
at evening at the sundown.
So if it's not sundown,
And you're not in Passover.
you're not in Passover. Y'all see where I'm going? It's the 3rd hour. It's the 3rd hour of the 13th. Our Hamashiach is on this torture stake. It's the 3rd hour of the day, 9 a.m. He's on a torture stake. Let's go to Luke 22. Let's go to Luke 22. Let's see what Luke says. Luke 22, verse 34.
I'm not understanding where we're connecting.
So
We started out talking about 3 years. What's his ministry? 3 years or 3.5 years?
Mhm.
So
that was a trick question. I threw y'all off on purpose. And we're bringing out the way the Christians push that he had a ministry for 3.5 years. They insert where he celebrated 3.5 Passovers. But what we're about to show you is there's no record he celebrated 3 Passovers. The only record of a Passover that they have of our king celebrating is the one that he didn't make it to. The one he didn't make it to. So for them to say he preached for 3.5 years, show me. We got proof text or more witnesses that after he was baptized, he only preached for 1 year and they slew him. That's what we're bringing out. So I threw y'all off on purpose for demonstration purposes. The way they get this doctrine that he teach for 3 years after his baptism is to have these Passovers. But what we're showing you that all the Passovers that he's around,
it's just one.
it's just one. It's just one. Where are you getting this from? Where are you getting this from? And this is what you're hanging your salvation on.
I've heard that before, that if that 33 was going back to contribute to the Masons, but they didn't do a good job of explaining and giving it detail.
The closest I can get, I was going down that rabbit hole. I was like, that's gonna be too much and too deep. But we know the 3 relates to the Trinity. They love that. The pagans love that 3. So 3.5 is close to y'all. You know what I mean? Like I can't tie together all. I don't have all the pieces. But y'all putting him walking 3.5 years. Y'all love that 3 for some reason. But let's just let it flow. He preached for 3.5 years, and only 4 people got records of the work he did. Only 4 people. Matthew, Mark, and John. He was on earth for 3 years doing great things. Only 4 people record what he did.
Well, Shalakia, y'all heard me?
Come.
If we are gonna go by what John say, let's say if we believe what John said, John tells us that it was so many more records and things that he did during his life that wasn't recorded, that if they was to record it, we wouldn't have been able to contain it because he did so many things. So we already, if we believe that statement, then it is a whole lot of stuff that he did that we don't know about, or accounts that we don't know about. So just being from the other perspective, we know there's a lot of stuff that we don't have in the form of the so-called Bible that we have. So it stands to reason that it could be a whole lot more that we just don't have, when it do seem like when you read the Gospels, seem like it's talking about 1 year. You're right. It seems like we only got 1 year, because there's no year breaks. There's no year breaks where they telling us that, you know, they're doing different things more than once. We hear of them doing it 1 year pretty much. So I see what you're saying, but there is a lot of stuff that we know according to scripture that we don't have documented. Where is it? We don't know. But I got you.
And that's the scripture I was going to pull, and I got tired. I was getting tired last night, because this is where textual criticism come in at. And I'm glad I pulled that scripture. If the text, I know it's a translation, but if it says that he did so many things, the word many is relative to time. He did so many things. Well, in 3 years, that would be no big deal. So you wouldn't really use that as a statement to prove that he was great. But if he did so many things in 1 year after his baptism, that has validity to it. Because someone around the time, his contemporaries yeah, I mean, he was here 3 years. What do you mean he did many things? That statement wouldn't have no value if he was here 3 years. Of course he did a lot of things. He was here 3 years. But if you use textual criticism, it says he only walked a year after his baptism. Now John says, and he did so many things, if we recorded them all, books couldn't contain, that has more power to it. Y'all follow where I'm going? So thank you for that. Let's go to Luke 22 and 34. Let's see what Luke records. Luke 22 and 34. Read.
Said, I tell thee, Peter, the cock shall not crow this day before that thou shalt thrice deny that thou knowest me.
Same story. This is the same Passover that we're approaching. It's the same 12th, the night of the 12th. And Luke is recording the same thing the other two elders record. So this is the same Passover in these three accounts, right? Let's drop down to verse 48 first. Verse 48. Luke 22 and 48.
Verse 48. But Jesus Yahushua said unto him, Judas, betrayest thou the Son of Man with a kiss?
So y'all know the story. This is still the night of the 12th. Luke is recording what Hamashiach is saying. Judas has come to betray him with a kiss. So let's drop down to verse 61. Luke 22 and 61.
And the master turned and looked unto Peter, and Peter remembered the word that the master, how he had said unto him, before the cock crowed, thou shalt deny me thrice.
What night is this?
The 12th.
Night of the 12th, Peter denied him 3 times, right? Verse 62.
Verse 62, and Peter went out and wept bitterly.
And verse 66.
Verse 66. And as soon as it was day, the elders of the people and of the chief priests and scribes came together and led him into their council, saying, Art thou the Christ?
So this is the morning of the 13th. So Luke is parallel Matthew and Mark. It's the night of the 12th when they arrested him. The morning of the 13th is when they're interrogating him and they're taking him to Pilate. And then y'all know the story. He gave up the ghost. Let's go to Luke 22. Why did I backtrack? Luke 22. I don't know why I backtracked. But I'm on 56. I don't know why I put that one there. Maybe they come to me. But so far, we see that the 3 elders, Matthew, Mark, and Luke, they are talking about the one Passover that Hamashiach didn't make it to. Hamashiach didn't make it to this Passover by the 6th hour. The 6th hour, it got dark, and he gave up the ghost. So the one Passover that we have all the elders agree that our king didn't make it to that Passover. So our king, the real king, was not killed on Passover. That's another Christian dogma. He was killed on Passover. He's our lamb. Our king wasn't killed on Passover.
I'm so glad you said that, because I tried to see that in scripture and I could never add that up.
It's been
on these writings.
It's been in our book the whole time, sis. But just because he didn't make it to Passover, what Israelite in his right mind is not going to see that he died for us and he's our spiritual Hebrewism sacrifice? What Israelite in his right mind is going to say, nah, that ain't had nothing to do with us?
Most of us don't know much about agriculture anyway. So when you slaughter animals, you gotta let them bleed out.
Drain them out.
You don't immediately cut them and just go start ripping.
But also too, from what I've been studying, I can't give you scriptures now, but I've got it written down at home. The preparation before the Shabbat and before the feast is 2 days, not the day before.
Tell them, Mama. You see, just learn our way of life, learn our count, learn our calendar. There's no way you got this Good Friday mess and he died on Passover. How's he died on Passover? None of them can. If you had a crucifixion on Passover, you can't celebrate Passover. You're unclean. You're unclean. And then when we do the 3 days and 3 nights, the math is off. That's why coming back, that's why I opened y'all up with, it's the 12th, he's talking to them in 2 days. And then when you kill him on the 13th, 14th, so they celebrated Passover, our king is in the grave preaching to the spirits that in Noah's day. 13th, 14th, when is Shabbat?
The 14th evening.
When is Shabbat?
Shabbat is the 15th.
Seventh day.
But the 13th, 14th,
The 15th, that's the Shabbat.
and our king is rising. When is first fruits?
The 16th.
What did he tell Mary when he rose? Mary was the first one to see him. What did he tell Mary?
Touch me not.
Nah.
Why did he say, don't touch me not?
He ascended back to the Father for the wave off.
You see how 13th, 14th, 15th, those are the 3 days and 3 nights that he's in the grave. The 16th, the beginning of the week. If you put Shabbat on the 15th, 16th is the beginning of the week. Mary's the first one that sees a master. Mary, don't touch me yet, but go tell my boys, the boy is here. The king is here. And while Mary goes tell the apostles, he has sent to his father on the 16th to be the wave offering. You see how everything makes sense? And then after he showed himself to the Father, then he comes back down to earth. And that's when Thomas was talking about that junk. I ain't gonna believe till I see the holes in his hands. Y'all on some old fanatic stuff. Amashiach says, touch me, Thomas. So now someone could touch him because he had already ascended to be the wave offering. You see how everything makes sense? 13th, 14th, 15th, the 16th, he's arisen. The beginning of the week, the beginning of Israelite week, not the beginning of Romans week. The 16th, the beginning of the week, which we're about to have the Feast of Unleavened Bread, he's risen. Or no, that's the second day of unleavened bread. It's the wave offering. Everything makes sense when you learn your culture. But that was a tangent, but it was a good tangent. So the 3 elders, Matthew, Mark, Luke, they're all talking about the same Passover. They're all talking about the same Passover. This 3.5 years ministry based on the Passovers, those 3 are the same Passovers. But the one elder who seems to have 3 Passovers is Yachanan. Yachanan, for some reason, he had a deeper revelation. Yachanan knew more of them. That's why he has 3 Passovers.
See, I was listening. I see where you're going, just, how it is, but I don't, but I was listening to, I listened to this, Gentiles channel.
Stop listening to Gentiles.
And now he talked about, the stuff that's going on in the world, but they always try to use the Bible and stuff like that. And he was saying that John's writing is he basically was trying to say you can't trust John's writing, just to make it simple. That because he said that his stuff was different than what the other three had, and they tried it because he even actually said that he tried that Jesus, just make it dumb simple, Jesus is not God, Jesus is not the Father. And John's writing is the one that everybody used to try to say that Jesus and Abba Yah is the same and to be treated the same, but he went on to show that in all the text, even the Son himself was saying that the Father is greater than I. So I'm just saying the fact that you're pointing out that he's the only one that seems to have the three Passovers gives some validity to what this guy was trying to convey with the difference in the writing, showing that a lot of this stuff is being tampered with, and he was a Gentile.
Yeah, a broken clock is right twice a day, and there's some righteous Gentiles who's like, hey, if it ain't the truth, it ain't the truth. I'll just poke with fun. But John is the only one who appears to have more than one Passover in his records. And remember, family, you can't forget what we brought out weeks ago. No one has the original of none of these letters. No one knows what John really wrote because the originals are not around. But let's check John out, what we got. Let's go to John 2 and verse 13. John 2 and 13, we're going to run it down to verse 15. John 2, 13, Shimon.
And the Jews' Passover was at hand, and Jesus, Yahushua, went up to Jerusalem and found in the temple those that sold oxen, sheep, doves, and the changers of money sitting.
So it's already, we know the chapter breaks are not natural, but let's just play along. John already in chapter 2 is saying it's the Passover, but the other three apostles didn't have this Passover to the end of their record, their Basar. But John is starting his record out with the Passover. So maybe John has more Passover. And John starts with him whipping the money changers, right? Let's go back to Matthew 21. Let's go back to Matthew. Put your little marker there. Let's go back to Matthew 21. John opens up with a Passover, and Hamashiach is whipping out the money changers. Matthew 21 and verse 12. Matthew 21 and 12. Shimon, read.
And Jesus, Yahushua, said, answered and said unto them, oh, you said verse 12?
Come.
I'll read verse 21. All right. And Jesus, Yahushua, went into the temple of the Most High and cast out all them that sold and bought in the temple, and overthrew the tables of the money changers and the seats of them that sold doves.
So Matthew is recording the same thing and is doing the same Passover that Hamashiach didn't make it to. So it seems like the Passover John is mentioning in chapter 2 is the same solo Passover that Matthew and them record. Let's check the other ones out. Let's go to Mark 11. Let's go to Mark 11. And we're going to pick it up at verse 15. Mark 11 and verse 15.
And they come to Jerusalem, and Jesus, Yahushua, went into the temple and began to cast them out that sold and bought in the temple, and overthrew the tables of the money changers and the seats of them that sold doves.
Mark has it, but again, Matthew and Mark is only recording one Passover. And so for John to open up with this Passover and Hamashiach whipping the money changers, it's the same Passover that Matthew and Mark recorded. It's not a different Passover. Let's get Luke just for confirmation. Let's get Luke. Let's see if Luke records it. Luke 19 and verse 45.
Salaki, Marah, I just had a question regarding the Passover, actually. And I was thinking about it earlier. When it comes to the Nazirite vow, is it what like with Samuel? Didn't his mother have to abstain from like drinking wine or strong drink?
No, that was on him. That was on Samson. Samson, the mother didn't take the vow. The son, she said, raise him up as a Nazirite, meaning that he won't drink a strong drink.
Okay. Does that apply for wine as well?
Yeah, like if the Nazarites after, so the original Nazarites, if you go back and read it, I forgot what chapter it's in. Numbers, they pledged their whole life. Their dad said their whole life his sons would not drink strong drink. So those sons pledged their whole life not to drink. But after that, we had elders who would take the Nazarite vow for a time period, if that makes sense.
Okay, Khan, I got that. But my question comes in, how do they still honor the Pesach regarding the Nazarite vow, if that's the case? That question that came to me, and I wanted to see what y'all insight was on it.
Well, for Pesach, you're saying the Nazarite vow is just for strong drink.
Okay, that's why I'd asked for, like, is wine and strong drink like two separate things?
I got you.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I'll follow you now. So we have wine here. Anytime you crush any fruit up in our culture, that's wine.
Okay.
But when you let it ferment, that's strong drink. So remember, since those years we had you found those moon grapes, that was fresh, man. We didn't find it because of this COVID, but when we find those moon grapes and just crush those up, so that good wine? Delicious, man. I mean, so yeah, so Nazarite vow, they can have that wine, they just can't have fermented wine.
Okay, I got it.
Okay, all right. All praises. So let's check Luke 19 and 45. Luke 19 and 45.
And he went into the temple, and he began to cast out them that sold therein, and them that bought.
So all three elders, Matthew, Mark, Luke, they too record Hamashiach beating the money changers, but it's during the same build-up for the same Passover that he didn't make it to. So Luke, so John chapter 2, opening up with Hamashiach, the Passover was near, and Hamashiach went into the temple, whooping the money changers. It's the same Passover as the other three. Let's go back to John. It's the same Passover as the other three. Now watch the banana in the tailpipe, family. Let's go to John chapter 6. This is when they just altered Yachanan's record and we caught him. Hallelujah. John 6, verse 4. Shema, read.
And the Passover, a feast of the Jews, was nigh.
Okay, so John 2:13, the Passover is nigh. Now John's saying again in chapter 6 that the feast of Passover is nigh. So now this is appearing to be a second Passover, right? That's what the Christian Dogma wants us to believe. Watch how Hamashiach exposed these devils. So let's go to verse 5.
Verse 5, when Jesus Yahushua lifted up his eyes and saw a great company come unto him, he said unto Philip, whence shall we buy bread that we may eat, that these may eat? 6.
No. 1 second. Let me get with you. Drop down for the sake of time. Let's drop down to verse 16. I'm not shortchanging y'all. I'm just trying to bring this home. Verse 16.
Verse 16. And when even was now come, his disciples went down unto the sea, and keep going, and entered into a ship and went over the sea toward Capernaum.
So this is crazy. The feast of Passover is near. And where did he enter the ship and go?
Capernaum.
Where's Capernaum?
That's the Lord.
Capernaum is in northern Israel. Where must every male appear 3 times before Yah, 3 feasts?
Jerusalem.
For what feast?
Facade, Tabernacles, and Feast of Weeks.
How is Hamashiach up in northern Israel and the feast of Pesach is near, and y'all see where Jerusalem is at? Now this is a little digital copy, but this is terrain. You see those little hills? There's no speed boats. So how do you have, and the feast of Passover was near, but then we got him in northern Israel? You see this? That your doctrine ain't adding up. Who added this John 6 Passover? If Hamashiach is supposed to be in Jerusalem, what do you mean is it near? Is it near like 3 months away? Is it 4 months away? You just added this out of the blue. You see that? Now, y'all sitting down?
Yeah.
Let's go to John 7. This is going to really blow your mind. Let's go to John 7. John chapter 7, and let's pick up 1 to 2. John 7, 1 through 2.
After these things, Jesus Yahushua walked in Galilee, for he would not walk in Jewry, because the Jews sought to kill him.
Anybody see a problem with that?
Well, you said in 6, the Passover again was near, and now you're saying, that he's in Galilee again, northern kingdom, and then it says he wouldn't walk in Jewry because the Jews sought to kill him. But how can they seek to kill him if he didn't make it to the Passover from that first one?
How you hiding out from the Jews and going to Passover? Like, that don't make sense, family. You're saying that in chapter 6, 4, you said the Passover was near. Out of the blue, the Passover was near. But then he's up in Capernaum, and then you open chapter 7, he ain't gonna walk around the Jews no more because they're looking to kill him. Where you gotta go celebrate Passover at?
In Jerusalem. And then verse 2 says the Jews' feast of tabernacles was at hand. So how can you be in tabernacles? So Passover is already.
Passover is what month? We got new people. Passover is what month for us?
The first month.
We don't care about the Roman calendar, fam. We just want y'all to get, in our way of life, Passover is our first month of the year. When is tabernacles? So how you just skip from Passover to the way to tabernacles? You see how this, who's editing John's letter?
Wow.
Who's editing John's letters, family? This ain't making sense. This is how they get 3 Passovers from John. Whoever adulterated John's letter, you open up John 2 with the same Passover as the other elders. Then mysteriously, John 6, you throw in a spurious one, and then he's all the way in tabernacles. This makes no sense, family. Hamashiach didn't preach 3.5 years after his baptism. He only preached 1 year. 1 year. Let's go to, and just for the sake of time, we won't go there, but y'all Bereans now. At the bottom, those crowns I put up there is for the king, and all our elders confirm, even with these butchered letters, all our elders confirm Hamashiach only was around, and he didn't even make it to that Passover. We've seen that. But he was only around after he was baptized by John, and the Spirit came down on him. He was only around for 1 more Passover that he didn't make it to. So that crown at the bottom, if you read John's record, chapters 11 through 13, is talking about the same Passover as the other ones. Then John 18 through 19 is when he's actually talking about the crucifixion. John has the same Passover as the other ones. The Messiah was only around 1 Passover, and he didn't even make it to that Passover. Where are you getting he walked 3.5 years? You have no proof text to say that. You just making up what you want to make up. But wait, there's more. This is Eusebius Church History Book 3, and we're about done. Y'all hung in there. We're all about all praises. This is Eusebius Church History Book 3. They, what do you call that when they say somebody venerate? They venerated Eusebius and changed his name to St. Jerome. He has nothing to do with us, but he was one of the ones who, he knew enough Hebrew to be respected by the pagans. oh, you know Hebrew? Or come tell us what their records say. So to us, he's a dirtbag. But he does have a lot of our history after Hamashiach was crucified and how we was on the run and who was doing what. So get Eusebius' record if you don't have Eusebius, but pray and fast and meditate always because you got to filter out when he goes off. But this is Eusebius Church History, Book 3, Chapter 24. And can you start it at paragraph 7 there? And when Mark
and Luke had already published their gospels, they say that John, who had employed all his time in proclaiming the gospel orally, finally proceeded to write for the following reason. The 3 gospels already mentioned having come into the hands of all and into his own too, they say that he accepted them and bore witness to their truthfulness, but that there was lacking in them an account of the deeds done by Christ at the beginning of his ministry. And this indeed is true, for it is evident that the 3 evangelists recorded only the deeds done by the Savior for 1 year.
How long?
For 1 year.
How long?
For 1 year.
3.5?
For 1 year.
3 years.
But only the deeds done by the Savior for 1 year after the imprisonment of John the Baptist.
So they only recorded what he did for 1 year after they imprisoned John the Baptist. Now, John the Baptist had to be imprisoned after when?
John the Baptist had to be in prison after he baptized Hamashiach, obviously.
And the 3 evangelists recorded what he did for that year after he was baptized by John. This is history they don't tell you. Where you get his 3.5 ministry from?
They've been working at it.
You see how you see, and then the point of this is what you're basing your salvation on. These letters that's been butchered and maimed up by the oppressor. But you think you got salvation in these letters, and these letters have been way, way twisted out of context. So this is a black and white, all 3 agree, Matthew, Mark, Luke. John is the only one that has something like, wait a minute, was he here longer than that? But we just exposed whoever edited John's letter, we caught you. You a liar. Hamashiach was only around 1 year after his baptism, family. 1 year. I guess that's all we need.
Question. So prior to his baptism, did he do any works? And did they account for?
In our way of life, Hamashiach was ministering even before he was baptized. At 12 years old, go ahead.
I would think he would have had to be that. Let's talk about the wedding part. His mom wouldn't have known what he was doing if she said, hey, go get them basins and do whatever he tell you to do.
Because she had no doubt on it. And then Christian Dogma, he had to be baptized to do his works. John was like, I need to be baptized by you. And what Hamashiach says, suffer it now, that all things be for, we got to be lawful. I know you know, because John was his older cousin. So he's looking at John like, I know you know who I am. I know you know, but we got to do this for the people's sake. So Christian Dogma tells you he couldn't do all these things until he was baptized. He was 12 years old sitting down with the Pharisees in the temple like, well, answer me this. And they look at this little boy like, whose child is this boy? So this Christian Dogma that he preached 3.5 years and he couldn't really do no miracles until he was baptized. Oh, where you get this from? This is what you're basing your salvation on because you don't understand our culture. That's the dangers of Christianity our people don't understand. You think you got something, you don't have anything but a one-way ticket to hell. One-way ticket to hell. That was a great question, sis. Anything else? I think this is, other than that, I don't think we need nothing else from here.
I think it's a famous pastor. He's passed away now. He's from the Bahamas. Spirit ministry. But they teach all you need is the gospel.
That's the next class I'm building. That's the next class I'm building, the Gospels. I got notes for that. Let's be Bereans and let's be objective because we're not trying to indoctrinate anybody. We're not trying to twist anybody. Matter of fact, y'all should take this and chop it up and make sure it makes sense to you because it took me. I didn't get this right away. I'm always chewing the cud, so don't repeat this. But just to be Bereans, let's drop down to paragraph 11. They
say, therefore, that the Apostle John, being asked to do it for this reason, gave in his gospel an account of the period which had been omitted by the earlier evangelists and of the deeds done by the Savior during that period, that is, of those which were done before the imprisonment of the Baptists.
So they're suggesting, they're guessing that John wrote more than the other three, and the other three started their work after his baptism, and they recorded that year, but John has more information because he went back before his baptism. John chapter 2 opened up with what?
The Passover.
Where you get this from? John don't got more information than the other three. John opened up with the same Passover that Hamashiach didn't make it to. Who's giving you this? Who's giving you this false doctrine? Come back to the law, statutes, and commandments, or you're going to be cut off. These New Testament letters are not what you think they are.
Our brother lost camera action. He said, yeah, that's a real head capper, man.
Hamashiach testifies. Anybody believe Hamashiach's word when he speaks? Y'all believe when he speaks? Let's read Hamashiach. Let's go to Luke 4:18. No, I'm sorry, SELAH. Let's start with the prophet. Let's start with the first Yahushua. Let's go to Isaiah 61. Let's start with the first Yahushua, and then we'll end with the last Yahushua. Yahushua or Yashayah, Isaiah 61, verse 1. Shema. Isaiah 61, starting at verse 1. Read.
The spirit of Rawah of Yahweh Elohim is upon me, because Yahweh have anointed me to preach good tidings unto the meek. He hath sent me to bind up the brokenhearted, to proclaim liberty to the captives, and of the opening of the prison to them that are bound. So Isaiah is saying the spirit of the Most High is upon him to do all these great things, to preach to the captives. Family, Isaiah, just like spitballing, who's Isaiah writing to? Yashar.
Children of Israel. So you want to, like you say, generalize this and have everybody quoting this? Isaiah's a prophet to Israel. But he's saying the spirit is upon him, right? Verse 2.
To proclaim the acceptable year of Yahweh and the day of vengeance from our...
Shemaiah, please stay with us, brother. It says, to proclaim the acceptable years of the Lord.
To proclaim the acceptable year of Yahweh.
The acceptable 3 years?
Acceptable year.
Just 1 year.
1 year.
And then guess who else said this? Let's go to Luke 4. You see how coming back to our culture is necessary? We're not coming against any other assembly, nobody out there, but when you just want to just come into this and with your Christian practices, and now you just want to build stuff, you have no idea what you're teaching people. You have no idea.
It's like a child playing with a loaded gun.
You have to come back to an Israelite customs. You have to learn our language, or else you're going to be like hand grenades and horseshoes. You're going to be close to what the Most High said. You're going to be close to what Yahushua said. But in these days, being close can get you killed. They're jabbing people left and right. And quiet as a cat. Y'all know they got drones that can spray stuff. So where you're not fasting and praying, and you going out here, I know I don't celebrate Christmas, but man, that sale, I'll give you a power drill for $40. Now you out there just trying to, I don't celebrate Christmas, but I can't turn down a sale. This drill's only $40. And while you around all this $40 sale, drones coming through just spraying mist. It's multiple ways your blood system is exposed. This is the level we're at. You can't be walking around, oh, everything, oh, it's just a coincidence. Oh, truck here. Oh, yeah, they just, your water system, we're going to run this. I came home one day, and at the end of our street, they had the hydrant open. And me, I'm looking around like, that's a dead end. Ain't no houses back there. You got to question all this was going on, family. You can't be walking around with your head in the days. It's time to fast and pray like never before. All this fantastic Christianity, this charismatic, oh, I feel the spirit in here. Y'all is moving. That's garbage, man. You get ready to be killed. Luke 4:18. Everybody want to feel it. Oh, we having church in here. We having it. Yahuwah moved in here. Man, the law ain't a salvation issue. Luke 4:18.
Shema.
Read.
The spirit of Yahweh is upon me, because he have anointed me to preach the gospel to the poor. He has sent me to heal the brokenhearted, to preach deliverance to the captives, and recovering of the sight to the blind, to set at liberty them that are bruised, to preach the acceptable year of Yahweh.
Here's our King, Hamashiach, the only begotten Son, the Lamb of Yah, the Lion of Judah, quoting or reciting the first Yahshua almost verbatim, and in Christianity went, shoo, over your head. He's the second Yahweh Shai. Well, he was preferred, y'all know what I'm saying. Before Abraham was, he was. But the first Yahweh Shai, Isaiah said it. Now he's walking in the flesh saying the same thing. And y'all think it's just a coincidence. He quoted. His name means salvation. Isaiah's name means salvation. And they both saying it's the acceptable year. And then like you alluded to, if we do the math, is this a Jubilee year? You see how deep this goes? We have more witnesses that our King preached for a year. Now, what's the big deal? Showing you that you can't open up these letters. And John said that John got 3 Passovers. So John had more knowledge. And John probably walked with Messiah. John probably had a conversation on Mount Olives when the other ones went and got. That's what they do to you. That's what while they was going to get meat. So right here, he sent them to get the Passover ready, and John probably was with him getting more revelation.
The thing that kills it is that when you inject something like that, then they throw the little arrogance on top of it. Well, it's obvious that he had a conversation with the Messiah. I mean, anybody could see that it must be, obviously, he did this, and it's not even there at all.
You have no sense to prove what you're saying, huh?
Yeah. I hate when people, but that's what I hate when people do that. They're saying it's obvious, and it's a statement of opinion or exegete, and it's not there at all, but it must be obvious that even an idiot can see it.
You know what I'm saying, right?
You know what I'm saying?
No, I know what you're saying.
Right? It must be this, right? Don't try to lock me in no box nowhere.
Show it to me. Show it to me. And you can't show us anywhere where Messiah preached for 3 years. There's no statements by any of the elders that he preached for 3 years. And that spurious Passover in John was just exposed to be a fraud. Hamashiach, the only Passover after his baptism was the Passover he didn't make it to. It was the Passover that he sacrificed his body for us. So we went through all this to show our family and friends, this is uprooting Christianity. This is the inserted dogma, the inserted doctrine into our letters that gets you off in a false doctrine, that gets you lost in idolatry. Idolatry. That's why we went through all this, family. And like Ox coming up next, because we need all men on deck. When he was building his class, I don't know where to cut this off. This is short. My wife's my witness. I be getting frustrated. It's like, I need to put this in there. I need to put that in there. My eyes be bleeding. Like, this is a short version. This is for you to take and chop it up and make sure you verify it, and you probably find more witnesses. This is the work we got to do to try to save our brothers and sisters. So in closing, family, the Basar Pesach, the report of Pesach, we got three or four witnesses. Well, let's just say 3, because John is spurious. we got three concrete elders. Matthew, Mark, and Luke is confirming that after his baptism, he only was around for one more Pesach, and he didn't even make it to that Pesach. John is the only one that has something spurious, but we know John's not a liar. We know John's not going to make stuff up. It's these Greek, these pagans that added this mess in John's record. So my question that I asked earlier, when I think either Chef or Joe asked about the 3 years, like if he really was here 3 years, he had 12 apostles, that was his inner circle, and then he had 70 that he sent out, but we only got the records of 4, and he was here for 3 years? Me and Gina, we find old pictures. I'll be like, babe, like, we've been in this work. We started a YouTube channel. Gina was my first camera lady. Everything. We started this work in 2016, and then we started fellowship in the houses at 2018. Look how much we did in these, by the help of Yah, in these last, and Hamashiach was here for 3 years, and all you got is 4 witnesses? It don't make sense. It don't make sense. But we just brought out witnesses, Eusebius and the elders, with textual criticism. We can show you we have more witnesses that Hamashiach only preached for 1 year. So hold them to the same standard. If you're going to stand that Hamashiach preached for three and a half years, show me your witnesses.
I must say, I'm going to get an organ or a recording of an organ, so when you make your point,
No.
you start feeling it. Because you ain't doing you wasn't true. You ain't got no organ playing behind you.
They're not gonna feel it. They're not gonna get it. They're not
What you
gonna
doing at
get it.
graduation?
Holding up the line, shouting.
We've been sitting 3 hours.
No way, I'm trying to.
We ready to leave. You over here shouting, whole Coliseum, hallelujah, go ahead, praise them. So family, that's all I got. I give all honor and glory to the Most High Yah by the blood and power of his only begotten Son. This is a love mission to win the lost. And you know, I talk about addiction because I'm not ashamed of anything that I've been through. I used to be ashamed. I wouldn't talk openly. I've been homeless as a child, homeless as a teen. I've been addicted to several different things. And if you ever dealt with an addict, you know the hardest thing to get an addict to admit is they got a problem. And to me, that's a good stage of an addict. Because when an addict's denying he's an addict, that's still showing he got a little bit of pride where he knows that being an addict is a sickness and he don't want to admit that he has a sickness. That's a good stage to be at. Because I've been around addicts and just, yeah, I get high. I'm getting high tonight. I'm getting high when I get off. And you look at him like, I'm like, Father, please stop me. Don't let me get to that. Please don't let me get to that.
Do better than I don't do that.
Yeah, I smoke rock and I'm smoking rock tonight. Like, so when you get to a point where you're not embarrassed about your sickness, that's when that spirit that you're under has really got you. So I said that to say, pray and fast how to deal with the Christians because they don't know they're sick. They think we're sick.
Oh, yeah.
But we're showing with the power of Hamashiach that these letters, these so-called New Testament letters that you base your life on, they don't exist. There's no new covenant, and our elders, they did write, but these are not the additions that our elders wrote. Come back and keep the law of Yah and have faith in Hamashiach that he did break his body for you, that he is returning for righteous Israelites and righteous Gentiles, and you shall be saved by the King of glory. Hallelujah. With that, any questions, comments, or concerns?
If I can just add just one comment. Speaking on just what you were talking about as far as if Hamashiach was here for 3 years, and they only have like 4 witnesses to pretty much record his time in his ministry. It reminds me of like the moon landing. And the reason I say that, before they quote unquote went to the moon, You saw like the astronauts, was it Neil Armstrong or whatnot?
Yeah.
You saw them excited and gassed up, like they was ready to go. And when they quote unquote returned from the moon, has anybody seen that interview?
They were real disappointed in their fight.
Yeah, they was disappointed. So my point is, if you really went and did what you said you was gonna do, the first time anybody has ever done it, how excited should they have been? On the other hand,
I turn up in their bones. I'm just saying.
exactly. On the other hand, Hamashiach, the one our entire nation has been waiting for, here for 3 years, and only 4 people was gassed enough to write about it. Now, obviously, you know, our records probably, there's so much we probably don't even know, like Gerald said, but I just bring that just came to my mind, like, man, if everybody would have been writing something. You brought my daughter back to life. You healed my cousin from sickness. You fed those thousands of people he fed with those couple of loaves of bread and fish.
Yeah.
That'd have been live.
Only 4 people had wrote something.
Yeah.
That's another lie they tell that we were illiterate. Our people, we was literate.
We taught y'all how
We taught y'all how you talking about, oh, you know, they was illiterate. No, it wasn't. We was very literate.
and the first school in Mecca.
Yeah, now, we all couldn't afford the lambskin, but that's why you would write on clay. So this idea that we were illiterate people, that's lies. Lies. Again, that's one of those things where a doctor is saying it. Show me the proof that we're illiterate.
Gotta be true.
Huh? Yeah, it gotta be true. Show me the proof where these people are illiterate. You can't find what none of these, thus saith John. I gotta write and translate because none of these people can read. You can't find that, family. We've been regurgitating Greek doctrine over and over again, and that's the love mission to win our people back to the Messiah, back to the truth, back to true salvation. So thank you for that. Anything else? Anybody got anything else?
Yeah, I mean, just to add to what you said, man, Shalaki, you know, lessons like this is important, man, for all believers. And it's sad that they don't get it because, I mean, it goes back to the basics. If we just dig and seek and do what the script tells us to do, we'll uncover these things, man. But we became so lazy as a people, man, and we just let people tell us, and they just, like you said, just repeating this clear, like, manipulated text, this stuff, and it's like you see why they blinded, and then when you try to like show them, they don't want to hear you. They so caught to the indoctrination, they so stuck that they ain't even hearing you, you know. And it goes back to what we were saying earlier about the power of that delusion, man. So I mean, how thankful we are, all praise to the Most High, that we in this position where we was able to like come out of it, man, because it's just crazy. It's simple stuff once you really see it. I mean, it's easy to expose the nonsense. It's easy to expose it if you actually put the work in, but people ain't putting the work in.